The January 24th, the 911 call is going to be 179. The second interview is going to be 179-001. The January 26th is going to be, come on up to the stand, ma'am, is going to be 002.
Respects. Got a cherry picking.
What do you want the consent to search something by itself? The January 28th is going to be 003. The consent to search is 004. The March 26th, 005. And the August 29th, 006. All right. Do you pronounce it Sherrod? Sherrod, yes.
All rise. Please be seated. We are on the record in CR 2015-001671-001, 003, and 004, State of Arizona versus Gerald Bowman, Marcus Morris, and Markeith Morris. For the record, we are back in the presence of the jury. All counsel and all defendants are present. Mr. Sherrod is back on the stand and still under oath. Mr. Bailey, your continued direct examination when you're ready. If you want to use the overhead projector, you'll need to hit that red button on the base of the camera.
We left off yesterday when you were at the hospital with Eric.
Yes.
All right. While you were at the hospital with Eric, did you look at some photos on Instagram?
Yes, I did.
How did you know to look at photos on Instagram? How did you decide to? Is probably a better question. I apologize.
So the detective, he had asked me if I ever seen the guys before, and I said yes on Instagram. Like I said, I was at a game 2 days ago, so if you hashtag and you put in like Phoenix Suns or anything like that on your post when you're at the game, there is a slideshow on Instagram that shows you photos.
Okay. And did Eric ever say that he knew the individuals that attacked him?
No, he did not.
You don't remember him telling you that he knew the individuals that attacked him?
Oh, he did say, I do apologize, so he did say that he did know the twins, that he grew up with them in Philly.
Okay. And that's all that you remember him telling you about the people that attacked him?
Correct.
Did he ever tell you the reason why he believed he was attacked?
No, he did not go over that with me. No, he did not.
Okay. And then backing up a little bit, after you see the first attack take place closer to the parking lot, you run back into the gym to get help, and you then run back down to where you said the fight had kind of moved down to. Do you remember that?
Correct, yes, I do.
All right, do you remember seeing the coaches down there, or people that you believe to be coaches?
When I got in my car, the coaches were still down there, yes.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you remember seeing a confrontation with the coaches and any other individuals?
Yes, I do, with one of the twins.
All right, can you tell us what you saw?
He was basically holding him back. He wasn't allowing him to come down there any further. The guy was like saying to him, what's going on? You guys can't be doing this right here. He had his hands up like, stop, you can't come any further. He was very persistent that the coach could not move beyond his point.
All right, and when you say him, he had his hands up, who are you referring to?
One of the twins.
And again, you don't know the difference between the two?
No, I do not.
All right. Did you ever hear any names used while you were down in that area?
As far as one of the twins' names?
Or any names at all?
No, I don't remember names.
Okay. And when you see this confrontation where one of the twins has his hands up, where are you at? Where are you standing?
I'm standing behind the coach a little bit.
All right. And do you remember what that coach looked like?
He was a white man.
And you said that, correct me if I'm wrong, you said there was another individual that was down there with him from the gym?
Yes,
Do you remember what he looked like?
he was a black guy.
Okay. Do you remember if he was tall or short?
I remember the referee, he's like medium size. He's not tall, he's not short, he's like in the middle.
Okay.
Like average height.
And do you remember seeing anyone else down there from the gym?
There was a lady who was down at the end.
Okay. You said, you talked about how you had a verbal confrontation or a verbal discussion with one of the twins when you were walking back. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And said something about how he's from Philly.
Correct.
Prior to that, did you know where the either one of the twins were from?
No, I did not.
Okay. To this day, do you know where they're from?
Well, he told me he's from Philly, so I assume that's where he's from.
Without that information, would you have any idea where he's from?
No, I would not.
And at some point after you've done some interviews with the police department, they ask you if they can review your phone or look at your phone records. Is that correct?
Correct.
Was that something that you allowed them to do?
I allowed them to take my phone as far as Instagram photos goes.
Okay.
I signed a consent form only for the Instagram photos.
Okay. So is your understanding that's what your phone was going to be given to them for?
Correct. When I met with the detective, he assured me after they already took pictures of my phone in the hospital that he might need to come meet with me and to take my phone. The consent form, like I said for Instagram photos only.
Okay. But as we discussed yesterday, we know that there was also some text messages that were taken from your phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you said at the time you had a crush on Eric. Is that correct?
Correct.
Were there personal messages between you and Eric about, I'm going to sound old by saying this, but like courting him? I guess nowadays you would say, trying to feel each other out, see if you're attracted to one another.
Correct.
Okay. And those are personal messages between you and him?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And do you remember a text between you and Eric about finding him a lawyer?
Yes, I do.
Why did you send a text to Mr. Hood about finding him a lawyer?
Actually, he was the one who was requesting me to help him find a lawyer. Like I said, he doesn't have family out here. He asked me to help him find a lawyer.
And I believe there is another text message between you and another individual talking about personal distress or personal harm. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it's a discussion basically that you could potentially sue the twins and get money. Is that correct?
I'm going to object. I have no idea what they're talking about. A text during some particular time frame, if they could.
Could you provide counsel with more specificity by referring to an exhibit?
Mr. Eckstein's exhibit, so
Can you just show him what portion you're referring to?
Oh, it's 237.
Which one are you asking about? What are you asking about? Okay. Yeah, ask me.
Your Honor, I believe she said she recalled, but may I approach the witness with Exhibit 237?
You may.
Thank you. Could you look over that, Ms. Sherrod, and let me know when you're done?
Okay, I'm finished.
Okay. Is there a date associated with those text messages?
Yes, there is.
And what's that date?
February 8th, 2015.
Okay. And if you can just flip it upside down, and if you need to refer it again, just let us know, okay?
Okay.
In one of those text messages, at the end of it, it has LOL. What does that mean to you?
Laughing out loud.
Why do you put something like LOL at the end of a sentence?
That's when you're not really serious about something.
Okay. And what was the sentence that LOL was attached to?
Can I refer back to the text messages?
Please.
Emotional distress, LOL.
Okay. And so those are text messages that you sent to an individual?
Correct.
Who did you send those to?
Can I refer back to it?
Just let us know when you're done.
It doesn't have a phone number listed, so it's a 202 number, so one of my friends in Maryland.
All right. Was it anyone associated with this case?
No, it was not.
Was it an attorney?
No, it was not.
Okay. Did you ever hire an attorney to sue anyone that you saw involved in the assault?
No, I have not.
Do you have a lawsuit pending against anyone that you saw in the assault?
No, I do not.
Did you ever have a lawsuit pending against anyone that you saw in this assault?
No, I do not.
That was the incident. Okay.
Your Honor, I have exhibits marked 181 and 182. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Ms. Sherrod, would you take a look at these and tell us what you're seeing? When you, tell us what you're seeing. We'll go with that.
Could you double check the numbers of those exhibits?
Did I say 181, Judge?
I wrote down, and I may have written down incorrectly, 181 and 182.
I apologize, Judge. 81 and 82.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
81 and 82. You have a chance to review those, Ms. Sherrod?
Yes.
Let's start with 81. What is 81 a picture of?
It's a picture of the twins. It's a picture of the light-skinned guy that had the bandana on. And it's a picture of the dark-skinned guy.
Where is that picture? The picture that is there a picture of a picture, basically?
Yes, correct. That is my phone. The detectives had a photographer come into the hospital, and they took a picture of my phone.
And when you say they took a picture of my phone, did you show them the picture that you found on Instagram?
Correct, I did.
Right. And what is the significance of those pictures?
It shows that they are friends with the twins.
Well, and that was probably a bad question. Like, why was that something that you believed you needed to show the detectives?
Because he asked me, have I ever seen them before?
All right. And so, and did you say yes?
Yes, I did.
And then at that point, did you show the police department?
Correct, I showed him the picture on Instagram.
All right. And then what's in photo number 2, or 82?
That's a picture of the twins. It's a picture of the light-skinned guy when we first walked out of the gym. And then there's a picture of the dark-skinned guy.
Between exhibit 81 and 82, did you see all the people that you saw at the Arch involved in the fight that night?
Yes, I did.
All right. And are those fair and accurate depictions of what you saw on your phone or showed police on your phone?
Yes, it is.
Judge State would move to admit exhibits 81 and 82.
No objection.
Mr. Bellinger?
No objection, Judge.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection, Judge.
81 and 82 are admitted.
Maybe not. Yeah, yeah.
All right, we'll start off with 81. And you said you saw the individuals, a light-skinned guy and in that photo. Would you point out who you believe you saw that night?
By using this?
Yes, if you use the metal end, it'll be more responsive.
Okay.
The metal end. Yep.
And I'm sorry, can you repeat your question? Who am I pointing out?
Who did you see in this photo from the night of the assault at the Arch? Okay. Those are the 4 individuals you saw that night?
Correct.
Okay. And that's what did you tell police that back on January 24th, 2015?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Judge, can I have that marked
No.
as an exhibit as well?
Print.
It's the last guy. That's I got white shirt. Obviously.
You can continue.
Thank you, Judge. And can that be omitted as an exhibit?
It will be marked as 238. Any objection?
No objection.
Mr. Bellinger?
No objection.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection.
238 will be admitted.
Now I'm going to move on to exhibit number 82. Can we clear off those circles? Sure.
I did it. I took care of it.
Thank you, Judge. Now, what are we looking at in this photo? Shrug.
I see the people that were there at the gym the same night.
All right. And why did you need to use, this may seem like an obvious question, but why did you need 2 photos to be able to observe all the people you saw that night?
Because in the other photo, one of the guys is not in the same picture.
Okay. And in the other photo, are there individuals that you didn't see there that night as well?
Correct, I didn't see some other
All
individuals.
right. In exhibit number 82, could you mark the individuals that you saw at the Arch the night of the fight? All right. And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. If we have that also froze and admitted as an exhibit.
Any objection to the admission of what will now be marked as 239, Mr. Eckstein?
No objection.
Ballinger?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Lackey?
No objection.
239 is admitted. Oh, did you have it frozen? No?
Is it frozen yet? All right, would you step down and can I line that up? I'm just gonna have her step down and then line that back up.
Can you step off the stand and
Yeah.
walk toward Mr. Bailey?
Thank you, Judge.
And by referring to the screen, can you just reposition the photo? Amy, can you grab that one off the printer, please? Oh, it caught it.
Yes.
Oh, it caught it, never mind. Do we have the other one? Yeah, she captured it in time.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Gentlemen, would you like to see it? Or just take my avowal that it reflects
That's
what
fine, Your Honor.
was on the screen? Okay, 238 and 239 will be admitted. You can return to the stand. Thank you, Mel.
All right, and then you just made a comment to me that it kind of looks different in this photo opposed to when it's actually on the screen.
Yeah, what's wrong?
All right, would you like the photo back?
Yes.
Okay, I'm approaching the witness with exhibit number 82.
I see the difference.
I'm sorry?
I see the difference.
Okay, so is there any changes that you would like to make after reviewing that photo?
Yes.
What would you like to change?
The guy that is in all black, the dark skinned guy.
All right. If you will, I'm going to take this photo. And Judge, actually, I think the easiest way, can the witness step down and observe the photo?
Because it's kind of blurry up there. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you probably put this? If you could just show on the first picture what you just told me.
So looking at this picture,
Yeah, I know, she's going to be wondering.
yeah, so looking at this picture, this
All
person.
right, you're going to have to do one photo at a time because we can only see one photo.
Okay. So this person right here,
But you're circling with that pen?
person right here, this person here.
Now, Mr. Bailey, there's a screen right next to her right arm that should be responsive.
Right. See if you can try it with that screen. All right. Those are the four individuals. And you're certain about that photo?
Yes, I'm certain about that photo.
Okay, and then going to, move on to exhibit number 82. This is the one you said because it appears darker to you?
Yeah, it was blurry, yes.
All right. And let me ask you, On the night that you showed this to law enforcement, when you actually had the phone in your hand, was the picture the same quality as what we see now, or?
No, it was a lot clearer.
Okay,
Because they're taking a picture of a picture.
okay. So, go ahead. So now you're just uncertain about the individual, the second one from the left?
Correct.
Okay,
The lighting's bad, I can't really see his face in that photo.
okay. Could you please take a seat?
And just so the record is clear, could you put the photo back up for me, Mr. Bailey? And that is exhibit 82, just so the record is clear, you circled the person to the far left wearing a blue hat, and then the fifth individual wearing a black hat, and the sixth individual wearing the hat backwards. Is that a correct statement?
Correct statement. The bucket hat, yes, with the white shirt and the jean jacket. Yes, so the white shirt with the jean jacket and the sweatpants, yes. The one with the twin with the hat backwards, the one with the twin with the hat forward.
Do you want her to mark on this photo now in print?
I mean, yeah, we could, just so the record's clear. The individual that you're not certain from the first time you circle faces to the second time you circle faces, could you just make a circle or put an X through that person?
I think it'll be clear if you put an X through that person's face.
Not working.
No, it's not working.
Oh, here we go.
What we're gonna do, could you hand me that, Mr. Bailey, would you retrieve that exhibit for me?
Yes, sir.
Until we can memorialize this. I'm going to have you take this and place it over the person's face.
Okay, thank you.
Counsel, I'm going to have her just place a tab over the person's face, and then I'll let you put it on the screen so that it's clear.
Okay.
And we'll make a color copy of this. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
All right, we're looking at exhibit 239, and this individual that has the tab, the green mark under him, that's the individual that you don't believe you saw at this time.
It's not clear. For some reason, it looks, his face is very blurry.
Okay. And Judge, may we have the lights back on now?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights on.
And in court today, do you see anyone that you saw at the arch who was involved in the fight?
Yes, I do.
And where are they seated?
I see the two twins seated up front, and then the guy sitting in the back.
Okay, so I'm going to have, let's go through each one at a time. Could you say the first twin that you see, the first individual that you noted as a twin, where is he seated and what is he wearing?
He's seated straight ahead of me with a gray suit on and a white shirt with
Okay.
glasses.
Judge, I'm not going to ask, actually the record reflect that, but because you can't tell the difference between the two, is that correct?
No, I can't
Okay.
tell the difference now.
And then do you see the second twin that you saw there that night?
Yes.
Where is he seated and what is he wearing?
He's seated on the far left, and he has a blue jacket on with a blue shirt, navy blue.
All right, and where is the third individual that you saw that night?
He's sitting behind them.
Okay, and again, what is he wearing and where is he seated?
He's sitting behind them with a blue navy jacket on and a white shirt.
Did you say a blue jacket?
Blue, black,
Could you get, and you said it was a white shirt?
a white shirt.
All right, Judge, may the record reflect that the witness identified Mr. Bowman?
Record will reflect that the witness has identified Mr. Bowman and that the witness has identified Marcus and Markeith Morris without distinguishing between the two.
Okay. And the individual,
Yes?
exhibit number 223 is?
It's a map of the gym, an overhead map of the gym.
All right. And you remember seeing that previously?
Yes. I have.
How do you know that?
This is a map that Detective Santos brought to me.
And is there, is your name on that map?
Yes, it is, and I signed it and dated it.
And what is the date of that, on those maps?
January 26, 2015.
We discussed a little bit about that yesterday, but can you explain how you received these maps?
When Detective Santos came, he did an interview with me. He showed me the map of the gym, in the area of the gym.
And what was asked of you?
To point out from start to finish where everything happened.
Okay. And is that fair and accurate depictions of the map and what you saw that night?
Yes, it is, correct.
State we move to amend exhibit number 223.
Are the maps 223 or 219?
I have 223 right here.
Any objection, Mr. Eckstein?
No objection.
Mr. Bellinger?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Lackey?
None, Your Honor.
223 is admitted.
May I proceed?
Yeah, I'm overhead working.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Probably has to publish. May I publish it?
You may. Would you like the lights in?
Yes, please. All right, I'm showing the first page of what's been marked exhibit number 223, or has been admitted exhibit 223. And I won't be able to fit all of it on if we're going to keep the orientation correct. So can you tell us what we're looking at in this portion of the photo?
This is the overhead shot of the gym, the parking lot, the long driveway.
And as we move down, what is this right?
The writing shows the individuals that I described. Detective Santos asked me to, when I was explaining to him, to write down, the colors of their clothing and describe them on this actual map.
All right. And at the bottom, and you said this was, you did this with Detective Santos on January 22nd, 2015?
January 26th,
Excuse me, I apologize, January 26th, 2015?
correct.
Was anyone else with you and Detective Santos when you did this?
No, just me and Detective Santos.
Okay, so we have numbers next to that writing. What's the purpose of those numbers?
The purpose of those numbers is if you go on the next map, you'll see where I marked X is number 1, it's explaining. Number 2, where I put the second X. Number 3, where I see the other person. Number 4, what I remembered about twin number 1. Number 5, where I remembered about twin number 2.
All right, and so we have next to number 4 a circle, and then I'll let you read it since you wrote it. What does that say?
It says twin 1, dark, black hat, gray hoodie, kicking and punching, and I believe I have verbal exchange.
Okay. Then moving on to the next page. Judge, if that's would like to look at this again, I'm
Yes.
take off. So we'll continue with the page I moved to next. What do we have here?
We have the parking lot of the gym.
Right. And are there any marks on this photo?
No, there is not.
And then what's this right here that I'm circling?
That is my initials.
Moving on to the next page. What do we see in this photo?
We see where the cars are parked. I'm having X's where I seen them standing from the part of the gym, from the outside of the doors. And I'm drawing a diagram as to where Eric was running from and where I first seen him fall.
Okay. I'm going to move it down since there's some more writing that you can't see in that portion of it.
It says first guy X. Can't remember what the second one says. Not clear here.
And then what do we have right here?
Oh, that's my initials right there.
Okay. So essentially, each one of these photos, did you just try to write down what you saw?
Exactly. He wanted me to explain what I seen and to put the X where everything happened, where I remember seeing the cars.
All right. And did it help you when you were able to visualize the location to provide information to Detective Sanchez?
Yes, it was.
What are we looking at in this next photo?
This is the diagram of heading towards the driveway, where I said was very long.
All right. And then we have a circle at the bottom of that photo.
Yes, that is where I found Eric when I drove my car down.
All right. And then we have some notes here. Does it say Mexican guys?
Yes, it does.
And were those the Hispanic individuals that you saw by the, I forgot what you called that structure?
Like a gazebo, sort of? Yes.
Okay. And then move on to the next photo. Looks like we're going back. So does this show, what does this show?
So this is just a closer portion of when we first came out of the gym to where Eric was running, where he fell, and then it's just a closer up of the driveway before it gets down to the end of the second portion of the map.
Correct. And then move it up, and then we have an arrow that goes off the map. Is that you continuing?
Yes, that's continuing because the maps were laid out like this in front of me.
This is another photo of just that gazebo area.
Yeah, that's a closer photo of the gazebo area and then towards the end portion of that driveway.
Correct. And I don't see any marks on this portion of the map. Was that something, was there any marks that you remember?
No, there was no marks.
And were you asked to put any marks on that map? Do you remember?
No, I think it was just showing the cross streets of what that street was right there. I don't see any marks on this one. It was like a continuation.
Okay. Then we move to the final photo. And what are we looking at here?
So right here, this is the portion, the end of the driveway, like I was explaining, that was very long. It's just a closer image of the driveway. Also on the bottom is where I pulled out and I headed towards like the hospital, but I pulled into the YMCA, so it was showing him which way I came out of the driveway.
Okay, and then what's that X?
That X right there is, well, it looks like it's zoomed in closer. Like if you go back to the other map where I had the X where I found Eric.
This map?
Yeah, so that, like I said, I think he zoomed in more on the X. So this is a further back picture of it. So that's where I circled the end of the street. So it looks like on the other map, that is where I found Eric, the X.
And just because we started talking about where Eric was at the end of the drive, you actually didn't see any of a fight down at that end, did you?
No, I did not.
And you were farther away from that location.
Correct.
Is that what you told us? And I'm going to approach and grab 219, which I believe has already been admitted, Judge.
Yes.
This is a map of that whole, the entire location. Do you remember what area you were in when you ran down to see those coaches? If you don't remember,
No. So, let me use this one. So, this was,
Would you like it turned?
yeah, can you turn it just slightly a little bit?
like this.
Perfect, just like that. It's much better. Say we got stopped right about here. I'm saying we got stopped by one of the twins right about here.
Okay. And from the position you were in, you said you couldn't see the end of the street.
Right, it's very dark down there. There's no lights that I can remember as far as going down. Because when I got in my car and I drove down, I had to put my high beams on.
Okay. So the only altercation or fight that you actually saw was in the area of the picnic table?
Correct. In this grassy area right here.
Okay.
Would you like that captured?
No, yes, Judge, please. I mean, yes, object.
It would be marked, and you're offering it, Mr. Daly?
I am, Judge, thank you.
It would be marked as 240. Any objection, Mr. Eckstein? Mr. Ballinger?
No, Judge.
Mr. Lackey?
No, Your Honor.
240 will be marked and admitted. Did you catch
Did
it?
I do it again?
Did you have the image, Mel?
And then, last few questions. We already discussed the photo lineups, and I believe those were omitted, Judge, 224, 225, 226.
Yes, they were.
All right, I'm going to show you the first photo lineup that you reviewed up there. Again, what are we looking at here?
I have put my signature next to 5. That is the lighting guy when we first came out of the gym who was posted up on the wall. That's him.
Okay. And do you know that individual?
No, I do not.
Do you know that individual's name?
No, I do not.
Moving on to Exhibit 225. What are we looking at in this exhibit?
I signed next to number 4. And that is the guy that had the bandana on his face.
All right.
Or, excuse me, not on his face, around his mouth, the lower part of his mouth.
And you said that there were some distinguishing features above that bandana that caused him to stand out to you. Is that correct?
Correct.
What did you specifically notice about him that stood out to you?
So back then, like I said, it was almost 2.5, 3 years ago, there was a haircut that was in style, almost like a boxed haircut, like a square haircut. He had that. His eyes stood out to me, and also his ears.
And now I'm moving on to exhibit number 220. And to be fair, do you know that individual?
No, I do.
225?
No, I do not.
And do you know his name to this day?
No, I do not.
Then I have exhibit 226. What are we looking at here?
I have my signature, and I have none.
All right, and the date on this exhibit, well, you have your signature is March 26, 2015. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the other 2 photo lineups, you have dates that are much closer to the time of the crime. Is that correct?
Correct.
So Exhibit 224, what date do we have at the bottom?
January 26, 2015.
All right, and then Exhibit 225.
We have January 28, 2015.
So on this one, we have March 26, 2015.
Can you scoot it up? Yes, March 26, 2015.
And on this one, we do not have, there is no signature next to any box number, is that correct?
Correct.
Were you able to make any identification in this setup out of these individuals in this lineup?
No, I was not.
And we actually have none at the top, is that correct?
Correct.
Another question.
Would you like, Mr. Lackey, Cross?
May we approach your honor?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights on.
Good, that's that table right next to it. That's right, okay.
Good morning.
Now, Ms. Sherrod, we first met back on August 29, 2017 during an interview, correct?
Correct.
You recall that?
Yes, I do.
All right. And you recall that the interview we did was recorded?
Correct.
There were like a bunch of cell phones and recording devices sitting in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you, kind of ahead of time, show you what's been marked as Exhibit 179.006. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes. Thank you.
Now, ma'am, yes. Now, ma'am, that what does that appear to you to be?
Like a transcript?
Okay, and if you need to refer, and that'd be a transcript of your interview back on August 29, 2016, or 2017, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, if you need to refer to that at any point, or if I make reference to it, let us know, and, you know, if you need to refresh your recollection about what you said or something like that, will you let me know, and we'll stop and figure it out?
Okay.
All right. Now, Ms. Sherrod, you told Mr. Bailey yesterday that you speak with Mr. Hood about, once or twice a week?
Correct.
So today's Thursday. How many times have you spoken to him this week?
Actually, I have not spoken to him this week. I did receive an email that said I was under strict orders not to talk about it to anybody, not to watch television, not to speak about it.
All right, so you haven't spoken to him or sent him a text message or anything like that since this trial began?
No, I have not.
Now, during that August 29, 2017 interview, you told us that you were with Mr. Hood when he was confronted by this guy in baggy sweatpants, right?
Correct,
And that was outside of the gym.
correct,
And during that time, a shorter, dark-skinned guy came up and hit Mr. Hood, is that right?
correct.
Okay, and since it was the entrance to that gym, the lighting was good?
Yes, it was.
You could see clearly,
Yes,
all right? And then there was a chase that occurred, right?
correct,
And that went over to by that grassy area near the picnic tables.
correct,
And at that point, two guys caught up with Mr. Hood, right?
correct.
All right, the dark guy
The dark guy,
and then the lighter guy that was waiting for him outside the gym initially.
they were chasing him, yes.
All right,
Two guys were chasing him, yes.
okay. So one of the things you told Mr. Bailey that I was confused about, you said you never heard the name Julius Kane before?
No, I have not.
You don't recall any conversations with Mr. Hood at the hospital about that fellow?
No, I do not.
You don't recall talking to an officer at the hospital that night that you'd heard the name Julius from Mr. Hood?
No, I do not recall, no.
I'm sorry?
No, I do not recall talking to an officer about that name, no.
All right. Now, at some point, there's a third guy that comes up.
Correct.
Now, did this person arrive at the scene and jump out of a car that drove up the driveway?
No.
Do you recall where that person came from?
Yes, I do.
Where did they come from?
Like I said, there was a truck, there was an SUV that was parked there, and it was almost like he was standing on the side. So like when he fell, that's when he jumped in.
And this was the fellow with the bandana?
Correct.
Do you recall ever seeing that person inside the gym?
No, I do not recall seeing him in the gym.
All right. Now, do you remember during that interview that you and I were at back on August 29, 2017?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, do you remember I showed you, try to remember exactly what you called this exhibit. I remember you didn't like it.
Yeah, it was very blurry.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 212.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Judge, I should have asked you from.
That's fine.
I should have shown it to you. Do you recognize that exhibit, Ms. Sherrod?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is a picture of the gym inside.
And is that how the gym appeared? I know, like you said, you have your problems with the quality, but is that what the gym appeared to look like to you back on January 24th, 2015? The inside of the gym?
Correct.
That's a fair and accurate depiction of that?
Yes, it is.
I'd like to admit that exhibit, Your Honor.
Any objection from the state?
No, Judge, thank you.
Mr. Eckstein? Mr. Ballinger? 212 is admitted.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness and publish the exhibit to the jury?
You may. Would you like the lights off, sir?
Yes. Okay.
It's very hard to see on there.
Sure. I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to flip it. But, okay, so back then on August 29, 2017, you signed there at the bottom, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, do you remember me asking you questions about whether you recognized anybody in these pictures?
Yes, I do.
And there are, I'll try to zoom in as best I can. And then there are four, would you agree with me that there are 4 photos on this particular exhibit? Total.
Yes, I do.
And in the upper right-hand corner of Exhibit 212, do you see a photo there with what looks like a circle written around or drawn around a person?
Yes, I do.
And did you draw that circle?
Yes, I did.
And do you recall who you purported that person to be?
That I don't remember. I told you that it was very blurry and that I could not see that picture.
All right, now I'm going to move this exhibit up a little bit. Same exhibit, and it's the lower left-hand corner of Exhibit 212. And you see looks like, I guess that is a complete circle around, looks like that same individual. Would you agree with me?
Yes. But like I told you, it was very blurry. I asked for a clearer picture, but yes.
Right, well, today's your lucky day, because you've got some other pictures. I don't know how well you're gonna like these, but we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you what's been marked in exhibit and marked and admitted as Exhibit 191. You see that?
Yes, I did.
Anybody familiar in this particular exhibit?
I see myself and I see air.
Now, I'm going to show you what's been marked and admitted. I believe 188's been.
Yes.
Is that any better for you, or would you like me to?
Can I see it?
Sure. May I approach your witness, Sharon?
Yes. Brad, if you'd like the lights on in order to look at it, let me know.
Yes, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights on.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. No, this is not even, no.
I'm sorry?
No, I cannot tell. Their faces is very, you can't even see anybody's faces. It's very blurry.
May I approach your witness again, Your Honor?
You may.
All right, I'm going to show you 190.
Okay.
Is that one any better?
No, this is very blurry as well. Thank you.
And that, I'm sorry, I'm showing you 191.
Yes. I know that's me. And I can tell that's Eric by his hair.
All right, anyone? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one? Oh.
Excuse me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. In that same photo, do you see,
Oh, I don't see anybody in this photo, no.
all right. So the jury can see. So in this one, this photo, and this is Exhibit 191, you didn't, just to clarify, you didn't see anybody in this particular photo that you recognize other than you and Mr. Hood.
Correct.
Is that right? Thank you, Mr. Bowers. If you could, Judge. Okay, yeah, there's some glare right there in the middle, but you don't, just to clarify, you don't recognize anybody other than you and Mr. Hood in this particular photo.
Correct.
And showing 190. Same thing?
Well, I can just think that those are the, I can just think in these onto that. It looks like those are the twins. Like I said, it's very blurry. But just going off of height, I can tell that though in the grays are the twins.
All right. And again, kind of contrasting that with that photo of the fellow that you did the circle around, that was the fellow, I believe you told me during the interview that was the fellow with the gray sweatpants, right?
Correct, the one I circled was the one with the gray sweatpants.
And that was the light-skinned guy.
That was the light-skinned guy, the one who initially said something as soon as we walked out to the gym.
All right, and do you see that person in this photo?
Like I said, it's blurry. I can't see it in this photo.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 188. And this is one that I just showed you up there too. And it is, and you see the fellow with the gray sweatpants there?
I can't see hands. It's like I said, it's very blurry.
Okay. And you couldn't see it when you were out there?
No, that picture is not good.
All right. But in this other one, the one with the 4 photographs, you were able to identify the guy with the gray sweatpants and you circled him, right? And I'm now showing you what's been marked and admitted as Exhibit 212. And you've seen this already too.
Yeah. Can I see it up here, please? It's very blurry up there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Correct. I can see yes, I can see the gray sweatpants, yes.
All right. And again, so that fellow in that picture, the person that you could identify was the fellow with the gray sweatpants who was right out there outside the gym and confronted Mr. Hood.
I'm going off of the gray sweatpants in this photo. Like I said, I cannot see the face because it is blurry.
All right.
I'm going off the sweatpants, the one I did circle.
Okay. Finished?
Yes.
Micro chart?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Sherrod, you couldn't ID the bandana wearing third fellow from any of those photos I just showed you, right?
Right. I cannot, like I said, they're very blurry. I cannot see.
Okay, and not even from some of the larger photos I showed you, such as 188, for example.
Right. Those are more blurry probably because they zoomed in. Those are not clear photos. I can barely see face structure. I can't see anything.
Nor could you from 190.
Correct. And I cannot see any face structure.
So the bandana fellow you couldn't pick him out in either one of those 2 photos, nor from the 4 paragraph or the 4 picture.
Correct.
Okay. Now, this third guy, you described him as light-skinned,
Correct.
and he had a bandana covering his mouth.
His mouth portion.
All right, well, can you demonstrate for us where that bandana was using your hands? Can you kind of hold up your hands? All right, and record reflect that Ms. Sherrod's holding her hands with her fingers together. Now, were they below the nose or was it up above the nose?
So it was covered like this.
Okay. And you don't recall ever seeing that bandana on the top of the person's head?
No, I do not recall that. I remember it on his face.
All right. And this person did not have did the person have a cap on his head?
Like I said, I could see his hair. I knew his hair. He had a box cut.
Right. And so we're talking about a square box cut.
Well, it wasn't that high, but
Okay, so
like I explained, yes, it's a square haircut.
I think as we said, it's not as like a kid and play.
No.
But, all right. I said it was not kid and play style.
No, it was not.
Okay. But it was a box cut.
It was like a box haircut, yes.
And during that August 29th, 2017, interview, you didn't recall at that time, you didn't recall the color of that bandana, right?
Correct, I did not recall.
Okay. And I just want to briefly show you what's been marked and admitted as Exhibit 223. You said on direct when you were talking with Mr. Bailey that Detective Santos asked you to write down kind of what you remembered most about each of the people, correct?
Correct.
All right, and so number 3, And I'm referring there to Exhibit 223. Number 3, the 3 things you remember the most were bandana, army color, and kicking.
Correct.
All right. Eyes and ears weren't on there, right? You didn't write that down, did you?
No, I did not.
Do you also remember telling us that this person with the bandana, the light-skinned guy, was about 5'8" or 5'9"?
I told you that I don't really know height, and you guys were saying around 5'8", 5'9". And like I said, I don't know height, but he's not like a tall, he's average, not like a tall person.
All right, and do you remember also telling us that, during that interview, that the hair and the bandana are what stuck out to you?
Yes, I did.
And Ms. Sherrod, you went to an NBA game, you said, prior or during the same week that this incident occurred, correct?
It was like a couple of days before, so maybe 2 or 3 days before.
All right, so this incident happened on a Saturday, right?
Correct.
All right, and so do you think that game occurred like what, maybe the Thursday or Wednesday prior?
I don't recall, it was so long ago, but it was, like I said, a couple of days before.
And the Instagram photos that Mr. Bailey showed you, or that you discovered, do you recall whether any of them were, from any of the captions or just from your memory, that any of them were taken there at a Suns basketball?
Like I said, when you get on Instagram, there's an open public page, and if you hashtag anything or anything regarding a game, all those photos will come up.
Okay. And you yourself, well, let's talk about that. So you and Mr. Hood got to the hospital. Initially, you two were there waiting
Correct.
to be admitted,
Correct.
for Mr. Hood to be admitted.
Yes.
Is that when you accessed the Instagram?
No, that was not. Not until Detective Santos asked me, have I ever seen these guys before?
And so you're saying that when Detective Santos said, have you ever seen these guys before, you whipped out your phone and went to Instagram?
And I said, yes, I have seen them before. And then I went to the Instagram photos and I showed him the Instagram photos.
That was the first time?
That was the first time, correct.
Okay, you never showed Mr. Hood Instagram photos at the hospital?
No, I did not.
All right. So you consistently, or on the date of the offense and through your conversations with Detective Santos and during our interview, you described the fellow with the bandana as being light-skinned.
Correct.
All right. And complexion-wise, are we talking, when you say light-skinned, was he as light as me?
No, he's not as light as you.
Was he as light as you?
He's in between.
So when we say light, are we talking like Steph Curry light?
No, he was not that. No, he was not as light as Steph Curry now.
Right. How about Chris Brown?
No, he's not that light.
Okay, do you know who Pharrell Williams is? No? Okay, that's fine. All right, so he's essentially...
He's not as light as you, and I have makeup on, so he's not as dark as, he's like in between us.
In between you and I?
Yes.
Okay. Was he lighter than this individual? And again, I'm going to show you. What's been marked and admitted as Exhibit 224. The fellow that was outside the gym.
That's the light-skinned guy, huh?
Right.
I said the light-skinned guy.
The other lights.
The other light-skinned guy, yes.
So what was the bandana guy's complexion compared to this person here that you wrote down on number 5, or the person that you may remember as being outside the gym confronting Mr. Hood?
Well, this is not a lighted picture, so it looks like he's darker in this photo than what he really is. So I can't go off of this photo. It's not lit up for me to say where in between he is.
All right. So, Mr. Bailey talked to you about, a little bit, about that, the dark-skinned fellow that ran up and hit Mr. Hood in the back of the head.
Correct.
All right. And you say he was a dark complexion, right?
Yeah, no, he was dark, yes.
Okay. I'm not going to ask, well, darker than you, right?
Yes, he was darker than me.
Okay. All right. And Detective Santos showed you a lineup, right?
Correct.
All right. Well, before we get to that, this individual, how far was he from you when you were standing outside the gym with Mr. Hood when the fellow ran up and hit Mr. Hood?
Like I said, he darted like past me because Eric is to the right of me. I'm to the left of him. So when he came, he just came like swinging. So he literally crossed me and hit Eric in the back of the head.
Okay. Did you get a good look at him?
Yes, I did.
All right. So you got a good enough look at him to identify him or circle him as one of the guys in the Instagram photo, right?
Correct. And it was light right there as well.
Right. Lighter than probably, would you say, or would you agree with me, that that area was probably lighter than any other part of that area that night?
Correct.
All right. And then back on March 26, 2015, from this particular interview, or this particular lineup, you were not able to identify that individual, right?
Correct. I said none.
Did that guy, the dark-skinned guy that ran up, that you were relatively close to in this well-lit area, did he have anything covering his face?
No, he did not.
And okay, so the first time, now I'm asking this question, the first time you saw the light-skinned guy with the bandana, was that out by the picnic tables?
It was over there. There's a light post. Like I said, there was a truck that was parked right there. When Eric initially fell from the two guys chasing him, it's almost like he joined in right at that moment.
All right, and so you say now that was near a light post.
Correct.
Was lighting there as good as it was right outside the front door of the gym?
It wasn't that bright, but it was light enough. It wasn't like a dim light, if that's what you're asking, no.
And so you saw that person before or after you ran back to the gym to get help?
Correct.
Which one?
I'm sorry?
Was it before or after?
Like I said, I seen all of them before I ran back in.
Did you see him after?
After, no, because they had moved out of my sight.
So after you came back with the coaches, you never saw the guy with the bandana again?
No, I did not.
And again, all you saw was from, you said the bottom of the nose up?
Correct.
All right. Nothing further, thank you.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our afternoon break. The admonition will continue to apply. Please continue to keep an open mind. I'll see you back here at 1:30. I'm going to turn the lights on, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, did he need this back?
All rise.
I asked. She's gonna connect you. Oh, come on.
He is connected.
Oh, we're connected.
My end.
I'm plugged in.
Randy Moss. I don't know what that means.
You want it muted? You need sound.
Yeah.
Ms. Sherrod, can you return to the stand for me, please? You're connected on my end.
Are we having this conversation?
We can see yours. That is your screen.
Talking, you know what, you might be right. I'm talking.
All rise for the, all rise for the jury. Please be seated. We are on the record in CR 2015-001671-001, 003, and 004. State of Arizona versus Gerald Bowman, Marcus Morris, and Markeith Morris. We are in the presence of the jury. All counsel and all defendants are present. Ms. Sherrod is back on the stand and still under oath. Mr. Eckstein, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Sherrod. I seem to recall with pretty good detail something that happened 2.5 years ago, so I want to ask you how you prepared for your testimony yesterday and today. What did you review?
I reviewed some audio that I was sent. Also,
Let me stop you there. What was that audio?
the audio I received was Detective Santos' interview. I also,
Is that just one interview, Ms. Sherrod?
I think we did 3 interviews.
You think you reviewed?
No, I reviewed all 3.
What else did you review?
I also reviewed some maps. I also reviewed,
Ms. Sherrod, are the maps that you reviewed those in Exhibit 223?
correct.
Go ahead.
I also reviewed a lineup,
What lineup was that?
the lineups,
Go ahead.
the lineups that they sent me, the ones that I signed off on.
Okay. And these were the ones that Mr. Lackey had walked through with you earlier?
Correct.
Anything else?
And the 911 call.
Did you meet with anyone to prepare for your testimony here?
No, I did not.
Didn't meet with any prosecutors?
Not when I met with them when we did the defense interview with you. But other than that, no, I did not.
No other attorneys?
No, I did not.
And did you discuss, before you began testifying, with anyone else, the substance of your testimony here?
No, I did not.
I think in addition to what you described, you also had the chance yesterday to review what is Exhibit 237 in this case?
Oh, yes, I did get the text message yesterday. Yes, I did.
Right, so the Exhibit 237 are some of the text messages that were taken from your phone and ultimately provided to defense counsel in this case. Is that right?
Correct.
And you recognize these messages as ones that were taken from your phone?
Correct. When I got to review them, yes.
And some of the messages in Exhibit 237 are ones that discuss generally your relationship or deal with your relationship with Mr. Hood. Is that right?
Yes, not relationship, but there's text messages in there, yes.
I didn't mean some particular kind of relationship, just obviously you know Mr. Hood, right?
Correct.
And some of the messages discuss what you told police about your relationship with Mr. Hood, right?
Correct.
And some of the messages include your discussions with other individuals of your connection to this particular case, correct?
Correct.
You don't know any of the defendants in this case, right?
No, I do not.
And I think your testimony was that you don't know Marcus Morris and Markeith Morris, but you had seen them play a couple days before January 24th, 2016?
Correct.
And from having seen them play, you were able to recognize them a couple days later?
Correct.
You also described on direct that you and Mr. Hood are still friends, correct?
Correct.
You speak once to twice per week?
Correct.
But since February of 2015, you and he have never discussed this case, right?
No, we have, through text messages that you have.
Okay. So in some of the text messages, the case may be referred to, but were there other discussions beyond what's in those text messages?
No, there was not.
And we met before, I think it was 2 weeks or so ago. You recall our conversation then?
Yes, I do.
And you told me then that the only time you recall discussing in person these events with Eric Hood was a week or so after Detective Santos interviewed you at your office. Is that right?
Correct.
And that interview, I think we agreed, was that January 26th interview?
I think so, correct.
And when I asked you about the detail of your discussion there with Mr. Hood, you told me that you asked how he was doing, right?
Correct.
And that you didn't discuss at that time what had happened with him regarding the assault, right?
Correct. When he came to my job, we were just talking how he was, correct.
Right. And that you've never discussed with him why he was assaulted, right?
Correct.
And you've never discussed with him the prospect of seeking money as a result of this assault, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You've never discussed with him the prospect of seeking money as a result of this assault.
No, I have.
What discussion did you have?
Through text messaging
And what was that discussion?
about suing the gym for not having security. There was another discussion about suing the twins as well.
And what was that discussion about suing the twins? What do you recall about that?
I don't recall going into depth, but just saying like about emotional distress.
So this was you saying you had emotional distress?
Yes, it's in the text messages.
Okay, so you're recalling a text message from you to Mr. Hood where you told him you had emotional distress regarding this assault.
I don't know who it was, but there's something in the text messages.
Right, and so all I'm asking now is any communication between you and Eric Hood about, well, let's start first with him seeking money as a result of this incident. Do you
Yes,
recall?
we did talk about that, yes.
Okay, and what communications did you have in that regard?
He just said something about he was going to sue them for his damages.
When did he say that?
I don't recall when.
Was it in person? Or?
No, it was in the text messages.
Anything else?
No.
And did you have any communication with him where you discussed you potentially seeking some financial benefit as a result of this case?
No, not to him, no.
You did suggest to Mr. Hood at some point that he should hire Chris Brown's lawyer, right?
Correct.
Who is Chris Brown's lawyer?
His name is Mark. I can't pronounce his last name. You corrected me, but
Mark Aragos?
Yes, correct.
When did you suggest that to Eric Hood?
That was after the attack.
Do you know how long afterwards?
No, I don't recall The actual date, no.
Why did you make that particular suggestion?
He asked me to help him find an attorney.
And did you do anything to help him find an attorney?
Yeah, I looked it up on the internet and was browsing through different attorneys, and I found that one.
And I think when we talked before, you told me that you had actually called someone at Mr. Garagos's law office. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you gave them some basic information regarding what happened in this case, right?
Correct.
And then you told me that you never told Mr. Hood that you did this, right?
Correct, until after the fact.
No, I asked you if you had ever told Mr. Hood that you had made this contact, and when we met, you told me, no, I never told him I did that.
I don't recall saying that.
I could approach.
Yes.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Welcome. I handed you what's marked as Exhibit 179.006. Is a transcript of the interview that we had a couple weeks ago. If you want to look at page 29 and 30, see if that refreshes your recollection as to what we discussed about that. The bottom of page 29 onto 30. Ms. Sherrod, does that help refresh your recollection as to?
Yes, I'm still reading. Give me 1 second.
Sherrod, I'll vouch you.
Yes.
Okay, and your recollection now is that you never told Mr. Hood that you had called Mr. Garagos's office like this, right?
Right, so when I called them, okay.
I appreciate you're trying to provide more information, and if that information you think is relevant and would provide more context and help the jury have a greater understanding of this, I'm sure that Mr. Bailey will ask you that on a redirect. Yesterday, after you had seen Exhibit 237, when you were testifying on direct, you said that you had a crush on Mr. Hood, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But that's not what you told me when I interviewed you a couple weeks ago, right?
I don't recall. What did you ask me?
You want to turn, Ms. Sherrod, to page 5 of the exhibit in front of you. In the middle of that page. Sherrod, you recall I asked you if you ever had a romantic relationship with Mr. Hood. You said that you did not. I asked if you wanted to have a romantic relationship. You said you did not, that you have a boyfriend, and I said I was asking about now, which was, I was not asking you it out now, it was 2 weeks ago, but at some point in the past, and you said no, I did not. Is that right?
Right.
So you told me you never wanted to have any kind of romantic relationship with him.
Having a crush on him does not mean that I'm having a a romantic relationship with him.
What's the
Or
difference?
liking a person, or getting to know a person. That doesn't mean I'm having a romantic relationship with him.
So what did you think I was asking when I asked you that question?
What were you asking me?
What did you think I was asking you?
Romantic relationship is something totally different than having a crush on somebody.
And I'm just asking, what's that distinction to you?
Being involved with him, doing things with him.
That is what? That is having a crush on someone
No,
or
that
having
is
a romantic relationship? So that is having a crush or being
So
in
a crush is liking.
And you have to wait for him to
Okay.
finish.
Which of the two is that? Is that having a crush or being in a romantic relationship?
Repeat your question again, please.
With what you just described, which of the two is that? Is that having a crush on someone or wanting to have a romantic relationship with them?
Right. Having a crush on someone is liking someone, talking to them, getting to know them. Romantic relationship is to the next level.
So having a crush on someone doesn't involve any sort of intimacy or physical intimacy?
Correct.
You were interviewed several times by Detective Santos in the context of this case, right?
Correct.
And Detective Santos had asked you several times about your relationship with Mr. Hood, correct?
Correct.
He asked how long you had known each other, is that right?
Correct.
And you said for 2 months?
Correct.
And he asked if you and Mr. Hood had kissed or had sex, and you told him that you had not, right?
Correct.
And he asked if you had been to each other's houses, and he said no.
Correct.
In fact, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And he asked me, would I take a lie detector test of that? And I said, yes, I would.
In fact, you actually texted a friend of yours about this discussion with the detective, indicating that the detective had said to you, when you told him that your relationship was purely as friends, that this really helps the case. Y'all just friends, that's good because it helps the case, right?
Correct.
So I want to make sure I understand two things. The first is that, well, let me ask one question, then I'll make sure I understand two things. So one is, did you tell Detective Santos that you didn't have a romantic interest or an interest in having an intimate relationship with Eric Hood?
Mr. Santos asked me if I was his girlfriend. I said, no, I am not. I am his friend.
And he didn't ask whether you wanted to be more than just a friend?
No, he did not ask me that.
And what would you have told him if he had asked that?
I would have told him, no, not at that moment. I was getting to know him.
And you knew that maintaining that relationship that existed at the time, just being friends, that would be beneficial to this case, right?
He asked me if we were friends, and I told him, yes, we were. Nothing further than that.
Move to strike is non-responsive.
Ladies and gentlemen, you shall disregard the witness's answer.
Let me ask the question one more time. You knew that maintaining your relationship with Eric Hood is just being friends, nothing more, that was beneficial to this case, right?
Yes.
But in fact, you did want to have an intimate relationship with Mr. Hood, right?
Well, you can think whatever you want. You can have thoughts. I mean, I'm a woman, he's a man, but it didn't go anything further than that.
I'm not suggesting it did. I'm asking what you wanted in terms of your relationship. You didn't want to just be friends with him, right?
At that time, I didn't know really what I wanted. Just flirting. Like I said, I had a crush on him.
So let's talk about some specific communications then that you had with him. If I could approach.
You may.
Ms. Sherrod, I've handed you what's been marked as Exhibit 237. These are the text messages that you and I referenced before. If you want to turn to the third page of that document, please.
There's not a third page on here. It says 6, 7,
Oh,
page.
yeah, it's actually, it's Bates labeled in the bottom right-hand corner, 500538.
Okay.
That page?
Yes.
Okay. So on this page, there's a text from you to Mr. Hood on the 27th of January. Do you see that? Labeled 288.
Yes.
And what did you communicate to Mr. Hood in that text?
Good morning, how did you sleep?
Sorry, 288.
Let me see, 288.
That will be found in the left-hand corner, or the left column.
It says 28, 28, 28.
Approach, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What did you communicate to Mr. Hood in that text?
So we're starting at,
Just 288.
I'm going to object at this point to improper impeachment.
May I please see the document?
And Tim.
Overruled.
Sorry, Judge.
It was overruled.
Okay. So what did you communicate to Mr. Hood in that text at line 288?
I said, oh man, I'm sorry. If I was there, you could have slept better. You could have slept on me.
Now, February 1st, Ms. Sherrod, the next page in that document, which is labeled in the bottom right-hand corner, 550, I will just ask you to read to yourself the texts marked 387 and 392. Ms. Sherrod, rather than having you read those into the record, I'll just ask you if I'm characterizing correctly.
Okay.
On 387, where it appears as though you're wanting to spend some time with Mr. Hood, and he's rejecting you, and your feelings are hurt by that. Is that fair?
Not quite. It's me explaining to him that I rock with you no matter what. Basically in those terms.
I'm sorry, I'm asking about 387.
Yes, so when I asked him to hang out, he said he was always busy.
And this was a theme of your relationship in this period of time. You were asking to spend time with him, and he would reject you, right?
Well, he was always busy, so.
And I think you referenced message 392 on that page before, and I think you communicated to him in that, even before this incident happened that we were going to talk about, as you said, you were trying to rock with him, that you liked him, right?
Right, that's a form of talk, yes.
Then Ms. Sherrod, on the next page, which is Bates labeled 563. In the bottom right-hand corner.
Let's see, 563.
Approach room.
Good jokes. Let's see, 56. These ones? Okay, thank you.
texts 510 through 513, if you just quickly read through those, they're pretty short. I'll go ahead and try and characterize these. You tell me if this is accurate, that you were trying to encourage Mr. Hood to spend more time with you. You sent him a photo. He said that the wait was killing him, and you said that to trust you that it was worth the wait. Is that right?
Correct.
But you knew, didn't you, that should anything happen in terms of your relationship with Mr. Hood, that that would in some way have an impact on this case, right?
Well, we're both grown adults, so if something would have happened, which it didn't, they explained that it would be better if we were not to see each other, basically.
The police told you that.
Correct.
And you actually communicated that message to some of your friends, right?
Correct.
If you want to turn to the next page, Ms. Sherrod, there's a whole series of lines there, but it's a February 14th text to some unknown person where you communicated, I'm assuming this is, I'm sorry, on the box that's 55 on the left. You can see that? Mm-hmm. What did you write there?
I said he cannot come to my house, I cannot go to his because the police basically advised us, police stuff.
Because of the police stuff, okay. So you couldn't go to each other's houses because of this case, right?
Correct.
Then on February 16th, the next page in this document, actually it's two pages forward. So there's a little number 2 in the bottom right-hand corner. You see
Yes.
that? Okay. There's a February 16th change with somebody named Riri Risha. You know that person?
Correct.
This is a friend of yours? Yes?
Yes.
Not involved in this case? Correct?
Yes. Bob, no.
Right. And there's a series of texts that you have with her between numbers 20 and 38. You had the chance to read this yesterday, right?
Yes, I looked over it yesterday.
So I will broadly characterize it, and then we'll go back and talk about one in particular. Broadly speaking, you were explaining to your friend Risha that you really liked Eric Hood, yes?
Correct.
You wanted to have an intimate relationship with him, correct?
In the future, yes.
But that you couldn't do anything until after this case was over, right?
Correct.
And then you further communicated to her that that Mr. Hood had broken his nose, correct?
Correct.
And that you told him that you and he were you were at a basketball game,
Correct.
and the twins from the Suns had jumped Mr. Hood, right?
Correct.
And then you communicated to your friend that Mr. Hood was suing the twins from the Suns, correct?
Correct.
So this is, again, February 14th, is that right?
What number line is that?
I think that whole page is February 14th, but that line
It
is
says February 16th.
20, oh, you're right, February 16th. You are correct. Line 23. So February 16th, right?
Correct.
And you were there when Mr. Hood had his nose broken, correct?
Yes, correct.
Communicated to your friend that you're the main witness, yes?
Correct.
And that the police had thought that you were boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Correct.
And that you told them you weren't.
Correct.
And so the police said they might give you a lie detector test to assess if you were being honest. Yes?
Yes.
So to prove you're telling the truth, you can't have an intimate relationship with Mr. Hood. Yes?
Correct.
And then finally, Ms. Sherrod, on the 24th of February,
What page?
if you want to turn to the next page, which is 79 in the bottom right-hand corner. The fourth text down, it looks like a message that you sent to Eric Hood on the 24th of February. Do you see that?
Yes.
And what did you tell Mr. Hood in that text? Could you read that aloud, please?
It says, I'm going to continue to be patient. It's hard though because I really want to get to know you and I can't, but I understand and I get the bigger picture in due time.
Ms. Sherrod, I think you've answered some of these, but we're moving forward to the basketball game now, and I want to make sure I understand what your testimony is. That you arrived to the game, you sat with Mr. Hood, and effectively nothing remarkable happened, right?
Correct.
He didn't tell you that the Morrises were there, correct?
No, he did not.
He wasn't acting strangely.
No, he was not.
He didn't act scared, correct?
No, he did not.
Or intimidated.
No, he did not.
He was his normal self.
Yeah, correct.
He didn't mention Julius Cain, right?
Did not.
And you didn't see either of the Morris twins inside the gymnasium, right?
No, I did not.
And so nothing remarkable happened until after you walked outside after the game was over, right?
Correct.
You testified yesterday and today that after Mr. Hood was struck, he ran to a grassy dirt area?
Correct.
What does that mean? Is there grass or is there dirt? Is there both?
So it's January, so it's cold outside. So you can tell when the grass has been dead. So it's dirt and grass, basically. It's like old grass.
I see. What was normally a grass field?
Probably in the summertime, yes.
Okay. And you said that this was next to the parking lot?
Correct. It's in front of the parking lot. So the cars are in front and the grassy dirt area is this way, it's facing it.
And next to some picnic tables, yes?
Picnic tables are up this way, correct.
And some concrete tables?
Correct.
Let me turn on. This is the first page of exhibit 223. You recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
This is an overhead image of the Arch facility, right?
Correct.
And this looks to you as an accurate depiction of what that property looked like the day of the altercation, yes?
Correct.
Do you remember there being the 2 parking rows there, or 4 parking rows, I guess, depending on how you count it?
Correct.
And then a sort of a grass space with a few palm trees, and then picnic tables, and then sort of a patio as you get closer to the gym?
Correct.
Get a closer. So this depicts what the parking lot looked like that day?
Correct.
And this picture, which is the third page of that document, exhibit 223.
Correct.
So that accurately captures what the front of the area between the gymnasium and the parking lot, what that appeared like that day, right?
Correct.
This is how you remember it, yes?
Yes, correct.
And on this page of exhibit 223, the third page, you actually drew for Detective Santos on January 26th where you believe certain things happened, right?
Correct, yes.
So where you have circled here next to an X and an army,
Can you turn it this way a little bit for me?
which
Yes, better. Thank you.
army bandana, that's where do you believe on this map that Mr. Hood had fallen and was descended upon by 5 people?
Can you scoot it up? Thank you.
You can please mark that.
To turn it?
No, this is.
Okay, that's a pretty big
Oh,
area.
I didn't know you wanted me to
Yeah,
do it
why
smaller.
don't, maybe you
Okay.
should erase that and you could just like a little,
Hold on.
just a man, not a giant.
You didn't say how big.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know I told you the technological capabilities of this courtroom were great. We are needing to reinstall our equipment, which was done half over lunch and half tomorrow. Can you see if you can clear it? You will need to hit the arrow button and hit clear.
There you go.
Thank you.
Put a little X if you could.
Okay, I thought you wanted a circle.
Oh, an X would be great. Okay, so where he fell is in the middle of that X?
Yes, that area right there, correct.
Got it. And where you have those other X's, so you have the X, 2 X's for Suns players, an
Correct,
X for Army bandana.
correct.
Those are where, what happened?
That's when they joined.
All right, so I guess I'm asking, is that where those individuals came from, or where you saw?
That's the area where they came from, correct.
So when you first saw the Morris brothers, they were where those 2 X's are,
Correct.
where it says Suns players,
Yes, correct.
and then they moved closer to the gymnasium, to the middle of the red X, and that's where they hit and kicked and punched Eric Hood.
Right in that area, correct.
We could shot of this. Ms. Sherrod, are there any landmarks in this area, trees, structures, tables, anything that sort of helps you recall that this is where you saw those individuals and where you saw Mr. Hood being assaulted?
Because his car, I think he was running to his car, and that's where, like I said, I don't know if they tripped him, but that's where he fell, in that area right there.
Okay.
So it's almost like he was probably trying to run to get to his car to get away, and that didn't happen. So that's where he fell, in that area.
Okay, so you're not remembering that X in reference to these concrete tables?
No, he was past that.
Okay, so, right, he was past the concrete tables.
So the way I have it marked, and I have it like, oh, I can't.
Can you unfreeze it? Now try it.
Okay. Nope.
I can make it clear.
Thank you. Now try.
Oh, there it is. Okay, go ahead and please demonstrate. Or try.
We have somebody on their way.
Okay. For now, if you could go to the screen behind you so the jury can see, and just use your finger to show, and I'll describe what it is for the record. So, Ms. Sherrod, you're tracing your finger along the black line on the 3rd page of this exhibit to show what?
To show how Eric ran.
Okay. And what happens as he gets to the end of the line? Is that?
And this is just to show where the guy was. He was in this area right here.
Okay, you're not going to be able to draw on that. So effectively, almost just underneath, if the page is vertical, to the end of that line that you drew is where you're saying Mr. Hood fell, right?
Right, like right here, yes.
Right by a little structure with a roof here, do you see that? There's a little shadow coming underneath
Yeah,
it?
uh-huh.
Okay. And past these uncovered picnic tables?
Yeah, he ran all the way past that, yes.
Right, and you remember those uncovered picnic tables and that little structure with a roof?
Yes, I do.
showing you now the same exhibit 223, but this is the fifth page of that document. Do you want it this way or vertical? How would you like it?
That's fine, I can see it. Just tilt.
And so what's depicted here looks to me like that same area you had indicated, roughly where Mr. Hood had fallen. Then there's a circle and I see words that look like kick, punch.
Right, he asked me what did I see right there. Like punching, hitting.
Got it. So this is effectively the same thing we had talked about.
Right, it's the same map, it's just a closer picture.
And back to the second page, I don't know if you want this vertical or horizontal, what would you prefer?
That's fine.
The second page of exhibit 223, this is a picture of the parking lot that you recall, it's depicted as you recall that parking lot appearing on the day of the assault, right?
Correct, yes.
And where do you believe that Mr. Hood's car was?
It's in one of these, here we go.
You can just describe it.
Well, I was trying to circle it for you, so.
It's not responding.
It's not going to work.
The 6th or 7th car in, counting from the left.
Okay, so that front row, the row closest to the gymnasium?
Correct, yes, he was in that first row,
And
yes.
about halfway in the middle of that row?
Right, he was backed in, so, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About the 7th car right there, yeah.
You believe you remember the actual spot that his car was parked?
His car was backed in because when I pulled
No, I'm
out,
not asking that, I'm saying whether it's back there or not.
yeah,
It was the 7th spot.
well, counting from these cars, looking at this diagram.
Sure. But rather than, I think it was somewhere between 4 and 8 or 4 and 9, it was in spot number 7, yes?
Like I said, looking at the diagram, if I'm counting, I would say it's right where that white truck is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's about the 7th car right there.
Okay, it was definitely in that spot.
Close to that spot, I'm gonna say that.
And you described in your direct testimony that you saw a phantom Rolls Royce somewhere in the parking lot?
Correct.
Where was that?
You see where those palm trees are? Looks like those
Which
palm
palm
trees. The end parking spot, towards the right, the last parking spot towards the
All
right.
right, so let's stop for a moment. Towards your initials on the page, is that what you're saying?
No.
Or in the other direction? Your initials are at the bottom of the page. Wait, why don't you just point it? Okay. So this is the row closest to the gymnasium.
Correct.
And then on the page closest to your initials, in that spot.
And that spot that I just pointed to, yes.
That is where you believe the Morris's
Either
vehicle
that,
was parked.
it looks like this.
That is where you believe the Morris's vehicle was parked.
Correct, either the first or the second, in that area right there where those palm trees are. I can't really say how many spots it is, but yes, in that general area, yes.
Ms. Sherrod, you mentioned before that there was some sort of lighting in this area that helped.
Correct, there's a light
Clearly
post.
I'm sorry. I can only take one person.
Okay. Thanks.
What's your question, please?
That you saw some sort of lighting that helped you clearly see what was happening in this area, right?
Correct.
Do you remember where that light was?
There's a light post. Can I see the map, please? Thank you. It doesn't show the light post on here. There's a tree. But yeah, there is a light post that's like right here. It's It's not showing it on this map, but there is a light post that's right there.
So that the record is clear. This is the fourth page of exhibit 223, and what you pointed to me and said there was a light post is effectively between the two palm trees that sit between the driveway and that little building with a roof that is just off the parking lot?
No, the
Why don't you
The
go-
light post, yeah. So the light post would be, I don't know if there's a new updated map, but if you get one, the light post is like right here.
Okay, so it's just off the parking lot, halfway between that little building and the driveway that is next to the parking lot.
Right, so the light post is either like in this general area right here. Like I said, it's not in that map, but there's a light post.
So I'm going to show you exhibit 219. Now, you were asked a few questions on direct examination about this. This also appears to be, to you, an accurate depiction of the Arch property.
Let's see. This looks a little bit different from that map. Can I see it, please?
I'm sorry, what would you like? I'm asking, does this look like an accurate depiction of the property?
Kind of looks different from the maps that I drew on.
Okay.
I guess because they have the
Let's-
squares and everything, so.
My question is, does this look like an accurate depiction of the property? Because before you had said the other maps that you drew on
Right.
accurately reflected
Correct.
how you believe, let's, one at a time, accurately depicted how you recall the Arch property the night of the incident.
Correct.
And so this, if there are differences you think that may have happened either before or after that incident, is that right?
Right, because this is not a full parking lot. The map that I looked at, there was a full parking lot. Now there's a Ramada right here, and it's cutting off these parking spaces. That's why I'm saying this map looks different to me.
But just so I'm clear, the image depicted in 219, you believe, does not accurately depict the Arch property on the night of the incident.
From when I seen it, it looks a little different. Like I said, it's not a full parking lot. It looks like this, there's like a gazebo and it's coming out a little bit further, but there's the one that I drew on has a full parking lot right there. I'm not seeing this on the actual street.
So in fact, if you, on 219, you'll see there are 3 rows of spots for cars to park, correct?
Right, I see that.
And then on 223, the first page, you'll see there's 2 rows.
That looks different to me, because what you just showed me, there's not a blue thing in this picture that I've seen.
Right.
And it's a full row of cars. And that looks different to me. That's not a full row of cars, and there's no blue thing right here on this map. Where it says picnic, this map looks different to me.
Okay, so let's be clear about this. On 223, the one that you believe accurately depicts the property the night of the incident, there are 2 or 4, however one counts it, rows of parking, is that right?
Right, correct, this looks.
And then on 219,
Yeah, I said this one that I drew on looks correct.
and then on 219, there's an additional set of rows for parking, right?
It's not additional row, there's a blue thing right here, and I don't see any parking spots. That's why I said it looks different. From the map that I was shown to the map you just showed me, it looks different.
So you don't believe that this area here on 223, this is a set of parking spots that is just to the left of the word picnic tables?
No, I see the parking spots, but what I'm saying is the map that I was shown, this looks different from what you're showing me.
On the map that is 219, there are 3 or 6 rows for parking, right?
Is that the one that says parking lot?
Correct.
Yeah, this one looks different to me.
And on 219, there's a blue awning over, just on top of an arrow connected to the word picnic tables, right?
Right. I'm saying that looks different from the map that I drew on, yes.
We'll stipulate it.
Okay.
I'm trying to have them articulated
Okay.
so we're on the same page.
Okay.
So there appears to be a larger parking lot in 219 than in 223, right?
Correct.
And there's a blue awning in 219 that doesn't exist in 223.
Correct.
And that driveway that sort of runs down from the parking lot to the gate, you'll see it looks like it has less of a curve in 219 than it does in 223, right?
Yeah, it looks different, correct.
You see on 219, because you had mentioned, well, like that, the area where it is now parking, the larger part of the parking lot in 219 that isn't present in 223, would you agree that is the space that formerly was between the concrete tables and the parking lot in image 223?
I'm not understanding your question.
You'll see in 219, the parking lot is bigger than it is in 223.
Correct.
Obviously, that parking had to come from somewhere, right?
Correct.
And it appears to me that it came from that space that was just to the east, on the east end of that parking lot.
So almost like they remodeled, is that what you're asking me?
Is that what it appears to you like?
It looks different, yes. The two maps look different.
So what you had marked before, this is the third page of 223, as seeing where the altercation took place.
Right, correct.
That is, you would agree with me, sort of right next to where the parking lot was in the images that are portrayed in 223, right?
Can you repeat the question?
So you've drawn a line to where you say Mr. Hood fell on the
Right.
third page of 223.
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
You say that's where the altercation took place, yes?
Yes, correct.
And it's in this space, and I asked you if you remembered seeing those concrete tables in 223. You said you did, right?
Yes, correct.
And if you remembered seeing that little building there, and you said you did.
Correct.
And the altercation as it took place was, you're telling me sort of just where the end of that line is that you drew to mark Mr. Hood's path, yes?
Correct.
I don't know if I asked you if I could approach the witness, Your Honor.
Me?
Or actually, I'll just use the envelope. If you could, or if you'd like me to approach, you let me know to do the same thing as you tried with 223 to see if you can find where that light pole is that you're recalling.
Right, but I don't understand why you're showing me a different map. I was never showed this map.
Okay, so You want to try to look, or?
I can look, but I was never shown that map, so it looks different to me like I explained to you.
So beyond not being showed the map, you don't believe this map accurately depicts the property on the night of the incident?
Right, I was shown that map of the gym. Okay.
Not a test. When you were testifying on direct, you explained that after you had come out of the gym, so this is, Mr. Hood has hit the door, he runs, he falls, 5 people descend upon him, you run back into the gym.
Correct.
You scream that your friend is in a fight, that you need help, correct?
Correct.
And 2 or 3 individuals come out with you?
Correct.
They're coaches or referees?
Correct.
And that when the 3 or 4 of you get out to the front of the gym, that the fight has moved down a little bit?
Yes, it's moved down a little bit, correct.
So on the front, so this is the first page of 223. If you could just, to the screen behind you, stand up and identify where the fight had moved to when you came out of the gym with the coaches?
Yeah, can I see the closer image of that one? The second one? There's another one that's a little closer.
Whichever map is, you think, best
Thank you.
depicts it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's too far back. There we go, this one. Thank you. Let's say this was the doors. Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
So let me make sure we're talking about the right page. This is the 5th page of Exhibit 223. Depicted here is the Arch property from about halfway up the parking lot down to Coulter. Is that right?
Right,
Is
yes.
that correct? Yes. And I was asking, when, after you came out of the gym with 2 or 3 individuals and said the fight had moved down a bit, where the fight had moved to when you came out?
That, like I said, I could not see. It was out of my sight. We got stopped probably right.
So I think I understand what you're saying, Ms. Sherrod. You didn't see that the fight had moved
I
down.
lost sight of it. It moved down. I lost sight of
Hear
it.
your answer.
Yes, I lost sight of the fight at that moment. It had moved down.
Okay. Make sure I understand that. When you come out of the gymnasium
Right.
with 2 or 3 individuals, where the fight had been before, right next to the parking lot, there was no fight then, right?
Correct. When we had,
And then you didn't see where Mr. Hood had gone, is that right?
correct,
You couldn't see him when you came back out of the gym,
correct.
right? And did you see any of the 5 individuals who you had seen before assaulting Mr. Hood?
I had lost sight of everybody. The only person that I seen was one of the twins.
So you come out with the coaches, you don't see any fight, correct?
Well, like I said, it had moved down.
You're assuming that because you
You're
didn't
right, I'm
see him.
assuming, correct. I am assuming that from where I seen him fall, it had moved down,
So-
off site.
Let's not make assumptions.
Just a minute. Ms. Sherrod, you have to wait for him to complete his
Okay.
question before you begin speaking.
Okay, thanks.
I don't want you to make assumptions. I just want you to tell me what it is that you saw.
Okay,
You come back out of the gym with 2 or 3 people, and where there had been a fight, you didn't see anything. Right?
correct, at that moment,
So you saw the 4 of the 5 individuals who you had seen attacking Mr. Hood, you didn't see it all, right?
no, I seen when, okay,
When you had come out of the gym with the
Correct.
2 or 3 coaches, at that point, you did not see 4 of the 5 people you had seen attacking Mr. Hood before.
Correct.
And you only saw one of the 2 Morris brothers,
Correct.
and you don't know which one.
Correct. I don't know which one.
And of the 2 or 3 people who were with you, one of them, you testified, got in a little argument with that Morris brother.
Correct.
And I think when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, you said it was a brief exchange where that Morris brother told him, suggested he not go past him. Is that right?
Correct. He's not allowed to come past this point.
And I asked you if that Morris brother actually physically stopped the coach from going past. Is that right?
Correct. He did stop him, yes.
Well, what you told me when we spoke 2 weeks ago was no, he did not physically stop him from going past.
Well, what do you mean by physically? He didn't put his hands on him.
So what happened?
He put his hands up.
You told me that the coach got around him, right?
Yeah, afterwards, yeah, because the coach wasn't standing for that. He stopped and they had an altercation, and then the coach was like, I guess took it upon himself, and he went around him after they had the exchange of words.
Was this, how do you know it was a coach?
I'm assuming it's a coach.
How would you?
He was in the gym. He's somebody that was in the gym. I don't know if he's a coach. I don't.
Could you describe this person by height, race, clothing?
He's a white guy. He's pretty tall.
How tall is pretty tall?
Like I said, I don't know height. You asked me that before.
Okay. Is he of the same size as the Morris twins?
He's not that tall.
Same size as Mr. Hood?
He's not that tall.
Same size as me?
I don't know. He's tall. He's taller than me. Let's put it that way.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'7".
Somewhat taller than 5'7", white guy. Anything else you remember about him?
I want to say he had on jeans.
How old did he appear to be?
And I told you that before. I don't remember age. He was older than me.
I don't know what that means. You don't remember age.
You asked me how old did I think he was, and I told you that I don't remember, and then you said, well, how old is old?
So you don't remember how old he was?
No, I don't know how old he was.
Right.
He was older than me.
Not that you don't remember age as a broad principle.
Right.
Okay. And this person had a brief verbal exchange with one of the Morris brothers,
Correct.
and then he went past that Morris brother, correct?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't see him anymore.
No, I did not.
And the second individual who had come out with you, did he go down to the end of the drive immediately?
The referee, I want to say he did not stop when we got stopped.
So were you and the coach were stopped together?
I was behind the coach. So if the coach is right here, talking to the brother, I was on, let's say, the right side of him.
All right, so on what's on the overhead image, which is the 4th page of Exhibit 223, does that show where this exchange happened?
Yes, it does.
Is it the end of that line that's drawn that's effectively even with the white that's heading horizontal, I think it says West Oregon Avenue?
I don't remember making that mark in regards to where we stopped at.
The screens are not currently responding. I've been told our annotator is needing to be replaced. We're going to have to go in the old school fashion of using our hands and our words.
Good training for all of us.
Say we're right.
Okay.
I can't hear you. I said we were in like about this area.
So the record's clear. What you're circling is on this image, there's some white on that driveway that goes up towards the gym, and just over the end of where the white section is, that's how far down you think you got with the coach when you ran into one of the Morris brothers.
Yeah, probably about right.
And The other individual you said you think is a referee?
Yeah, because I remember during the game, he had the referee uniform on.
At the time of this, so this is after the game, right?
Right, this is after the game is over, correct?
Was he wearing a referee uniform?
I can't remember if he had already changed or if he might have still had the shirt on. Because when I ran in there, when I was screaming and I was yelling, help, help, they just ran out really quick.
And this person ran out with you and the coach?
Correct.
And he kept running past where this one Morris brother was?
Correct. He kept running. Yes, correct.
And from that spot where you've indicated you were, and the coach ended up going past the one Morris brother,
Correct.
and you did not?
Correct. I was walking slowly and I was like trying to watch, but like I said, when you get towards that way, it's very dark.
How long from the time that you stopped before you saw, stop and strike that, you testified before that you saw the other 4 individuals who were attacking Erica before coming back up the driveway, right?
Right, correct. They were coming back up the driveway.
And I think you testified yesterday that you saw them running back immediately. Is that right?
Right. They were running back. Well, not immediately, but they were running back towards that way, like heading back towards their cars.
I have a transcript from yesterday's court proceeding, but I wrote down that word because I thought it was an interesting and important word. You don't remember saying that you saw them running back immediately?
Well, like I said, it wasn't immediately. I guess when the fight was over, they were returning back to their cars.
You have no idea what happened at the end of the drive, right?
Oh, I do not. No. I did not see.
And you don't know because you've never discussed it with Mr. Hood, right?
Correct.
So you see 4 individuals are gone, and the way you described it yesterday, tell me if this is accurate, almost from the moment that that one coach who had been stopped briefly by Morris' brother goes past Mr. Morris, very shortly after that, you saw the 4 other individuals who were in the fight come back up to where you were. Is that right?
I say it was probably maybe about 4 or 5 minutes afterwards. Like it wasn't like they just darted back up.
When you said you saw them running back immediately, you didn't mean that.
Not immediately. When a fight's happen, adrenaline's going, everything happens fast. So I'm trying to slow it down for you.
I appreciate that, but what I would really appreciate more is you simply describing accurately what it is that you saw, okay? And so you're now saying that when you said immediately yesterday, you didn't mean immediately, right?
Exactly. They didn't come back right away.
You were interviewed by law enforcement several times regarding what you had witnessed on January 24th, 2015, right?
Correct.
You told the officers what you saw.
Correct.
You gave the best and most accurate version of the events as you recalled them during those interviews, right?
Correct.
Do you recall the first interview you had with an officer who reported to the emergency room at Baptist Hospital?
I remember somebody coming in there, but I remember him saying, just wait right here. The officer is going to be on his way, or the detective is going to be on his way.
Do you recall being interviewed by an officer Berglund in the emergency department?
I don't remember
Being
interviewed by him. I remember him saying, a detective was on his way to step out in the hallway.
You do remember speaking to Officer Berglund?
Kind of, yes.
Your Honor, if I could approach.
May?
Thank you.
Ms. Sherrod, I handed you what's been marked as Exhibit 174. It's a copy of some portion of the police report from this case. And on page 86, which I think I have it open to, if you could read that paragraph there, and I'll ask you if that helps you recall any part of what I was asking you before. Let me know when you're done.
Okay, thank you.
Just that page. I don't think there's anything in reference to in the following page. So you're done reading?
Yes, I am.
Does that help refresh your recollection as to your discussion with Officer Berglund?
Yes, and that, yes, it does.
So do you recall telling Officer Berglund that you had seen Mr. Hood confronted at the gym doors by someone?
Correct.
And you told Officer Berglund that it was someone named Julius, right?
Well, when I was sitting there, I said a light-skinned guy, and Eric corrected me and said his name.
Okay. So when you were describing what you had observed to Officer Berglund, Eric Hood was seated next to you?
Yeah, he was in a wheelchair. We were sitting in the waiting room.
So I'd asked you when we met a couple weeks ago whether when you met with Officer Berglund, Mr. Hood was present, and at that time you said that he wasn't. Has something happened between now and then that causes you to have a different recollection?
No, I remember you stating in the room, did an officer interview me? And I said, the only officer that I can remember at this moment was Detective Santos. I said, someone approached me. I don't remember if it was a security guard or who it was in the waiting room.
Okay. So Mr. Hood was present to hear your interview then?
Well, he was sitting there in the wheelchair,
Present.
but he wasn't.
Mr. Rod, let me ask the questions, and again, if additional context you think needs to be provided, I'm sure Mr. Bailey will help you do that. So he's physically present, and you had said to the officer that a light-skinned gentleman had confronted Mr. Hood at the door, and Mr. Hood provided the name Julius. Is that right? Did he say Julius Kane?
I don't remember if he said his first and last name.
And then you told the officer that you saw Julius and the two Morris brothers and two other black males. Well, let me stop. So you told the officer that Mr. Hood was confronted at the gym door and that he fell to the ground, right?
No, I don't remember saying.
If you need
He
to
didn't fall
refresh your
right-
recollection.
Right. I see what he has written here, but he didn't fall right there.
I'm not asking what you now recall. I'm asking what you told the officer at the time.
Yes, it says that he fell.
And so do you believe that's an accurate recording of what you told the officer?
The officer did not record me.
I'm sorry, when I say record, I don't mean an audio recording. I mean, he took down accurately what you had told him.
Yeah, it looks that way.
What was that?
Yeah, he wrote it down. I mean, he did not record me, so I don't remember saying that.
You believe you might have said that?
I said, I don't remember saying that.
Okay.
I'm telling the story really fast, like I have adrenaline going.
I understand. Just
So,
if
like
you
I
don't
said,
remember
I'm
saying it,
saying that,
one way or the other. And then you said after the two Morris brothers and Julius and two other gentlemen came over and began punching and kicking Mr. Hood, coaches from the game ran over and yelled for people to stop, right?
Right, they were yelling, everybody needs to
Ms.
get out.
Sherrod, this will go faster if you simply answer the questions that I'm asking, okay? Yes?
Yes,
Thank you. You yelled, the coaches came from the game came over. This is what you said, right? Yes?
yes,
And yelled for people to stop, correct?
Correct.
But they didn't stop, right?
Correct.
So then you told the officer that you walked toward your vehicle, and on your way there, you were told by one of the Morrises to get out of there. Is that right?
Well, I'm telling the story, but
Is that what you told the officer?
like I said, I was telling him everything, he was writing it down.
Is that what you told the officer?
I don't remember him telling me that.
You don't remember you telling him that?
I'm telling a story and he's writing, so like I said, my adrenaline was going, I'm telling the story. However he wrote it down is how he wrote it down.
You don't recall?
I'm just telling everything, I'm just telling it.
Asked to speculate at this point
I'm
on the
not
officer's narrative.
order.
They ask questions, he objects, I rule. After I rule, you talk.
Okay.
What do you believe your objection is?
My objection is she's being asked to speculate on the officer's narrative. She doesn't have personal knowledge of his narrative.
The question is, you don't remember telling him that. Then the follow-up question is, you don't recall. Are you able to answer that question?
Yeah, I don't recall.
Okay. The next interview you had was later that night with Detective Santos, right?
Correct.
About 11 p.m. or so. Does that sound right?
I really don't remember the time, but yes.
It was also in the hospital.
It was in the hospital, yes.
And in that interview, you told Detective Santos that Mr. Hood had been blindsided by somebody at the gym doors, right?
Correct.
And then 3 other people, or I guess 2 other people, and the Morrises and the person who had blindsided him, appeared out of nowhere, and they all kicked him and hit him, right?
Kicking and punching him, yes.
And you told Detective Santos that you instantly recognized the Morris twins.
Correct.
And as you described to Detective Santos, let me see, make sure I understand this. So Mr. Hood is hit at the gym door, right?
Correct.
He begins to run in the way you've described before on the maps, correct? He gets to that spot near the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
He falls, yes?
Correct.
And immediately there are 5 people on top of him, right?
Correct. They all join in at that moment.
And you immediately recognize that 2 of those individuals are Marcus Morris and Markeith Morris.
Correct.
And you did not know that the Morrises were at the game before this.
No, I did not.
And these aren't people you know in any way, right?
I do not know them, no.
You had seen them in an NBA game a couple nights before.
Correct.
And so you told Detective Santos that you panicked when you saw that and you went back into the gym.
Correct.
How long were you out there when you saw this?
I don't know, everything happened so fast. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, a minute, I don't know the time frame.
If you don't know, you don't know. This is third page of Exhibit 223. You've identified using this map before where Mr. Hood was. I don't know that you've indicated where you were when you saw this. Where were you?
Where was I when he fell?
The system's not working.
Pardon?
System's not working. Okay. If you,
Why don't we do this?
Yes.
Let's take a break. When we take a break, we're going to restart the annotator. The admonition will continue to apply. If you'd please be back in the jury room in 15 minutes. We are back on the record in CR 2015-001671-001, 003, and 004. State of Arizona versus Gerald Bowman, Marcus Morris, and Markeith Morris. We are in the presence of all counsel, all defendants in the jury. Ms. Sherrod is back on the stand and still under oath. Ladies and gentlemen, I explained to the lawyers during our break, our annotator is going down, so we're in the process of trying to get it replaced, but the only time they have the ability to replace it is when I'm not physically sitting up here doing other responsibilities, and that gives them some very limited time. So We're very hopeful that tomorrow, in between my proceedings, they'll be able to replace it and will be fully functioning. We think we're temporarily fully functioning, but we only have limited time with our annotator. Mr. Eckstein, your continued cross.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Sherrod, when we just before we took the break, I think I was asking you where you were. So this is just after Mr. Hood is punched at the door and runs and falls and is descended on by 5 people. Where were you when that happened?
Right up there.
You are in the middle of that red circle you've just drawn?
Correct.
Please take a snapshot of that. And for how long were you there before you went back into the gym to get help?
I don't remember the time frame, how long it was. I was sitting right there and I'm like, oh my God. And after I was watching, I was like, I can't. I have to ask for help. And then I just ran back into the gym. I don't remember, maybe a minute, 2 minutes.
Okay, so you believe for a minute or 2 minutes, you stood where that red circle is and watched 5 individuals physically assaulting Eric Hood.
Correct.
You told Detective Santos, and again, this is the January 24th interview, the interview he conducted of you at the hospital?
Correct.
Okay? So you told him that when you go in to get help and some referees, maybe another coach, they all rushed outside.
Correct.
And you told Detective Santos when you got outside with them, that the fight had moved towards the middle of the parking lot. Do you recall that?
It had moved down. Like I said, I had lost sight, but it had moved down away from that area. So like the driveway moved down.
If I could approach the witness.
You may. Do you want to move for the admission of the,
Oh, yes, please.
that is Exhibit 242, any objection? Mr. Bailey?
Not from the state judge.
Thank you.
Mr. Lackey? Mr. Ballinger, any objection to the annotated photo that 242 is admitted?
Mr. Rod, I've just handed you what's been marked as Exhibit 179.001.
Correct.
Right? Okay. It's a transcript of this interview we're talking about with you and Detective Santos. Have that document in front of you?
Yes, I do.
If you could turn, please, to the second page
Okay.
of that document. And the third full paragraph, I'm going to read aloud the first 2 sentences. You tell me if I've read them correctly. By that time, it had moved down a little bit. The fight had moved towards the middle of the parking lot. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
You're saying that the middle of the parking lot is not where these cars are parked in this parking lot, but somewhere on the driveway.
Right, it had moved down, correct.
So when you said the middle of the parking lot, you didn't mean the middle of the parking lot?
Correct. The fight had moved down a little bit, correct.
Well, be clear, when you said the middle of the parking lot,
It was not the middle of the parking lot.
and then you told Detective Santos at that time that you and the coaches had run to the fight that was still taking place.
Right, so they were running down.
And I'm going to read from that paragraph going on. Tell me if I'm reading this correctly.
What page? I'm sorry.
This is also page 2 of that
Okay.
document, just where I stopped before. So the fight had moved towards the middle of the parking lot. I ran down there, and they were still kicking him, punching him, holding him down. Did I read that correctly?
Correct, yes.
You know, Eric was, of course, up in a ball, and there was some coaches that were ran on and saying stuff to them. They still didn't stop. They were still fighting him. I read that correctly?
Right.
So now what you told Detective Santos in this interview is that when you had come out with the coaches and the referee, you saw the fight was still happening, and all of you had run over to that, and there was additional kicking and punching and hitting that you saw, right?
Well, I guess the way I articulated, I'm just telling him how it's happening. So like I said, he's sitting there, I'm telling him, he slows me down, I'm going back and forth, letting him know exactly what happened. So how it's written, and how you're explaining it to me, I'm just giving it to him how it happened. Like I said, when I came back out, the fight had moved down.
Right.
What I had seen kicking and punching is when I was standing outside.
Ms. Sherrod, I'm relying on your words to the detective in this interview.
Right.
Right? And you gave him the best and most accurate account you could at that time.
Right.
Wait till I'm done with the question so the court reporter can take down everything we say. And what you told him was that when you came out with the coaches, the fight had moved to the middle of the parking lot, right?
It had moved down.
I'm asking what you told him.
Okay.
You told him it had moved to the middle of the parking lot, right?
Okay, right.
And that when you got out there with the coaches, you still saw the 5 individuals who were assaulting Mr. Hood continuing that assault, punching him, hitting him, holding him down, right?
Correct.
And that the coaches who came out with you ran up to those individuals who were still fighting Mr. Hood and were yelling stuff to them at that point, right?
Correct.
And as the interview went on, you told Detective Santos that you did not see the Morrises until the fight moved toward the middle, and then you didn't describe any more what that was. That's where you saw them, right where their car was parked. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, that's the grassy area where their car was parked. That's when I seen them.
Right, so if you turn to page 6 in that document. Down to the 4th paragraph from the bottom, you said to the detective, that's when they weren't initially right up at the door. So when we walked out, it was a light-skinned guy. They didn't come down till further when the brawl actually started happening. Their car was parked in the middle, so when the fight moved towards the middle, that's when I seen them, right?
Correct.
And middle, the way I'm reading it, suggests middle is tied to where the car is parked. Is that how you meant it?
Middle is the like I said, the grassy dirt area. That's what I mean by middle. So from the front door to where he ran, that's what I'm referring to as the middle. I seen them come up where their car was parked at.
So when you said to him their car was parked in the middle, you did not mean the middle of the parking lot?
No, I did not mean the middle of the parking lot. I'm referring to the middle of the area.
You suggested in your testimony yesterday that when you saw 5 people assaulting Eric Hood, that nobody was out there except for you, Mr. Hood, and the 5 individuals who were assaulting him. Is that right?
I think they asked me, was anybody else out there that I noticed? I didn't notice anybody at that time.
You don't remember seeing anybody else out there?
Correct. I don't remember seeing anybody else. If they were out there, I don't remember. No.
But you told Detective Santos, didn't you, in this interview, that in this fight, everybody was like watching, it was like they weren't trying to help, like that's why I ran in and got those coaches, everyone was just watching. That's what you told the detective, right?
Right, the kids and everything, when they were taken, that was after the fact. Like I said, I don't remember how they got out or when they came out, but no one did anything. No one called the police.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. When you told the detective, no, everybody was like watching, it was like they weren't trying to help, like that's why I ran in and got those coaches, everyone was just watching. What you meant was everyone had gathered around after the fight was over.
Correct.
Okay, I understand.
Around, yes,
But not in the middle of the fight with people watching.
correct.
And so then when you told the detective later on, everybody, like there was families out there, everybody was just watching, you weren't talking about people watching the fight.
Correct, I'm talking about people after, they were standing out there.
Ms. Sherrod, what were people watching then?
They're just watching, they're standing there taking pictures, watching them. They were just standing around. I don't know why they were standing, they just weren't doing anything. As whereas I was in panic mode, they were just like, oh, let me take a picture, the phantom, like they were focusing on the twins basically. They were watching them, they weren't doing anything to help.
So the watching in these two instances refers to the watching of the twins after the fight is over?
Right, they're out, they're just, a lot of people
Okay.
are out there standing, yes.
Your third police interview, it's the 26th of January. I think when we talked about this before, you had told me Detective Santos had come to your office to conduct this interview.
My work, yes.
And I think your story is effectively the same regarding the initial confrontation at the door. You recall telling the detective that? Yes?
Correct, yes.
And that Mr. Hood, I think as you've described here, you saw him running, it looked like towards his car, and he fell, and then 5 people were kicking, stopping, and punching him, correct? And that as soon as he fell, you saw 5 people descend on him, right?
Correct.
And then you ran back into the gym, right?
Correct.
And I think what we talked about here today, 2 or 3 people ran out with you.
Correct.
You remember the tall white guy we talked about before, who you think is a coach?
Correct.
The referee, I don't know if we discussed it here, but you believe he's a slim black man in his 50s, right?
Correct, yes.
This is where you and I had a disagreement about what was old.
Correct.
Yes. And you don't remember anything about the third person.
No, I don't really remember anything about the third person, no.
And then you told him in that interview when you had gotten outside, the fight had moved down a little bit in the way you've described today, right?
Correct, yes.
And that at some point you had seen both of the Morrises punching and kicking Mr. Hood.
Correct.
And you told the detective that one of the Morrises was wearing a black hat and a gray hoodie.
Correct.
And the other, a short sleeve shirt of some unknown color, correct?
Correct.
Sure, I put on the overhead projector what's been admitted into evidence as Exhibit 188. Could you pick out in that photo which of the Morrises you believe was the one with the black hat and the gray hoodie?
Can I see a clear picture, please?
If I had a time machine and go back and take one, I would. Can I approach?
Thank you. And this is the same one he showed me. I cannot see any faces. I can't see their faces.
So on Exhibit 188, you can't tell which of the Morrises you believe had a black hat and a gray hoodie and which one had the t-shirt on.
Right. Correct. I can't tell. No.
in the interview you had with Detective Santos, where you were describing where you had seen the 5 individuals assaulting Eric Hood, do you remember part of that discussion where he suggested to you that the altercation was on the front page of Exhibit 233, further down the property, somewhere close to what's like a little shack with a blue roof that is just above Coulter Street?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Do I remember?
Yes. Do you remember Detective Santos suggesting to you that maybe what you had seen was closer to that blue shack that's almost at the end of the drive going out to Coulter Street?
I don't recall that.
I can approach her.
May?
Thank you.
Ms. Sherrod, I've handed you what's been marked as Exhibit 179.002. This is a transcript from this January 26th interview the detective performed of you. If you could turn to page 10 of that. You want to read the last paragraph, the bottom of page 10? Does that refresh your recollection as to that part of your conversation with the detective?
Still don't recall that, but yeah. So he's asking me this, yeah.
Didn't the detective suggest to you that the fight happened right by that shack at the end of the road?
Yeah, he's making a suggestion, yeah.
But you told him that's not where you saw anything, right?
I didn't see anything right there, no.
I'm not asking what you saw, I'm asking what you told the detective. If you don't recall.
Yeah, I don't recall, thanks.
Because that would be different, obviously, than what you described to Officer Berglund. A fight taking place just in front of the space in front of the gym doors, right?
I don't remember that person. I don't recall.
And different than what you said to Detective Santos in your first interview where you described the fight having moved towards the middle of the parking lot as you define it, right?
Repeat the question?
When you told Detective Santos in your second interview that the fight, when you had come back out with the coaches, that it had moved to the middle of the parking lot?
Right, well, I'm saying it moved down, so
I-
flat moved down.
You told the detective that the fight had moved to the middle of the parking lot, right? I know you're defining middle of the parking lot differently, but those are the words that you used, right?
I
Do you want me to,
don't recall.
you don't recall? We spoke about this a couple minutes ago.
Oh, the parking lot, yes, I do.
So in the second interview, you told the detective when you had come back out with the coaches that the fight had moved to the middle of the parking lot, right?
Yes, correct.
And in the third interview, you are describing effectively what you described in your testimony here, which is a space next to the parking lot, right?
Correct, it had moved down, right.
And none of those are consistent with an altercation having taken place almost at the end of that driveway, right? Or you having witnessed an altercation taking place.
Right, I did not witness anything at the end of the driveway, no.
After the fight, you called 911, right?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that you called 911 because you wanted to get directions to the hospital. Is that right? you have a chance, we all had a chance to listen to your 911 call earlier today. You recall listening to that?
Yes, I do.
Having listened to it, do you believe you asked in that call for directions to a hospital?
I was telling her that help to getting to the hospital.
Right. You told her which hospital you were going to, right?
Right, because they kept yelling, take him to that hospital, correct?
You didn't ask the 911 operator for directions, did you?
I remember asking her for directions.
In fact, the 911 operator you were speaking for was specifically to put in a complaint to the police department, right?
Well, I was asking for help, letting them know what was going on.
You were speaking to the police department on this 911 call, weren't you?
I don't know if it was 911 or the police department. I don't know who it was. I just dialed 911.
I could approach her.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Sherrod, I've handed you what's marked as Exhibit 179. It's a transcript of the 911 call. Do you want to read that and let me know who you think you were speaking with? Ms. Sherrod, that call was with the Phoenix Police Department, wasn't it?
It says that, but I dialed 911. So if it directed me to them, then I guess it did. But I dialed 911.
I'm not asking what number you call,
Right.
but you were talking to the police department, yes?
Looks like it.
And you told the police in that call that 10 guys just came over here and were fighting my friend, and I need to take him to the hospital, right?
Correct.
Who are the other 5 guys than the ones that you've described in your testimony today?
5 guys. There was a light-skinned guy.
No, I don't need you to repeat the 5 individuals you've talked about.
Oh.
But you referenced here 10 guys just came over here and were fighting my friend.
Well,
I'm asking who the other 5 guys were.
there was no other 5 guys.
You told the 911 operator that 2 of the boys that were involved play for the Phoenix Suns, the Morris brothers, right?
Correct, yes.
You told the police department that this had happened 10 minutes ago,
Correct.
and you said as soon as the basketball game was over, this happened, right?
Correct.
That as soon as it was, and that as soon as the game was over, they, I guess meaning the people who had fought Mr. Hood, came in there, and there was like coaches and people that were trying to break it up, right?
Correct.
You had said before you thought it was some number of minutes between the end of the last game and when the altercation took place. Obviously, you've described it to the 911 operator as happening as soon as the game was over, right?
Well, the game was over. Yes, the game was over.
You said as soon as the game was over to the 911 operator.
Right, but I'm giving them the game was over. The game was not still going on. So as soon the game was over.
When you said as soon as
Well, I'm not,
irrelevant information?
right, as soon as the game was over when this happened.
You gave a pretty dramatic description of Mr. Hood's condition from really the time you found him at the end of the driveway, taking him to the hospital, through his time at the hospital, observation, treatment, and I think you said that he was out of it during this period of time?
Correct.
At some point, did he become less out of it from what you could observe?
No, he was just like in a daze almost like.
So from when you got him into the backseat of your car until you last saw him that night, his condition didn't really change?
No, it did not.
He appeared out of it that entire period of time.
Correct.
slurring his words that whole period of time?
He was slurring, like, sometimes I didn't even know what he was saying, yes.
Definitely slurring his words.
Yes? Yes.
You had arrived at the hospital, I think, a little before 8 p.m. Does that sound right?
I really don't remember the time, but
So if the 911 calls at 7:37,
okay.
does that sound about right?
Okay, yes. Thank you.
And Mr. Hood was discharged from the hospital just after 11 p.m., wasn't he?
I don't remember the time frame he was discharged at.
It was that night.
It was at night, yes.
And after he was discharged, he was interviewed by Detective Santos that night, right?
I don't know when he was interviewed.
When you left the hospital, you left with Detective Santos and Mr. Hood, didn't you?
I drove in my car, I followed behind them.
So Mr. Hood is discharged at some point, correct?
Correct.
You and Detective Santos and Mr. Hood, I understand, in two separate cars, leave the hospital and go back to the Arch property.
We go back to the property, correct.
And when we met a couple weeks ago, you told me that you were on that property with the detective and Mr. Hood for 20 to 30 minutes.
It seemed about that long, yes.
And while you were there, you described for the detective what you had seen and where you had seen things happen, right?
Correct. He was walking in the grass area, yes.
You don't think the detective recorded this conversation with you, right?
I don't recall, I don't remember.
And then after that, 20 to 30 minutes, you left and went home, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Hood was still there with Detective Santos, correct?
I pulled off, they were still there.
You don't know how long?
No, I
don't know what happened after you left.
I don't know.
But you do know that Mr. Hood drove himself home that night, right?
I'm assuming, I don't know. Like I said, I pulled off, they were still standing there.
And I think you testified that, well, Ms. Sherrod, you didn't know when you were in the hospital with Mr. Hood that Mr. Hood had contacted a lawyer who had promised to serve a demand letter on the Morris's agents, right?
I don't know anything about that.
Because you never discussed that with Mr. Hood, right?
Correct.
And I think when in our interview 2 weeks ago, you told me you never discussed Mr. Hood's intention to make any money as a result of this case, right?
Right, I didn't recall, yes.
You didn't recall saying that to me, or you don't believe you ever discussed that with Mr. Hood?
No, I remember saying that to you, but I didn't recall at that time talking to him about that.
Do you recall something different now?
Yeah, because I got the text messages yesterday and I read over them. But when we were in the room, you just showed me the top of the text messages. I didn't get a chance to go through everything. So when I told you I don't recall that happened so long ago, I don't remember what I text.
So you now believe that you had at least some communication with Mr. Hood where he had expressed to you a desire to make some money off of what happened to him?
Correct.
I think there was at least one text exchange where there was a discussion about this potentially being reported to the media, and he had texted to you that if it does get reported, then cash is out. Does that sound right?
Correct.
And you told me when we spoke a couple weeks ago that you never learned if Mr. Hood had actually hired an attorney.
Correct.
And you also told me that you personally had no intention of making any money as a result of this incident, right?
Correct. Well, certain parts of it. I told you the Phoenix Police Department. You asked me, was I planning on making any money? I said yes, against the Phoenix Police Department.
Okay, so putting that aside for the moment, you had no intention of making any money as against Marcus Morris, correct?
Correct.
Or Markeith Morris, correct?
Correct.
Sherrod, if you could turn back to Exhibit 237, please. Judge, if we could switch back to that.
Your laptop?
Yes, thank you.
Which page?
So this is actually, it's the second to last page in that packet. It's got a 6 in the lower right-hand corner. And if you were to look at texts, 168, 172, and 173. Tell me if you remember sending those.
I'm sorry, what was the numbers?
168, 172, and 173.
Yes.
You sent these texts.
No, I did not send them, they were sent to me.
But when you see in the from and to column, that sort of third column, Ms. Sherrod,
You said 167?
168,
168.
172, and 173.
Right, that's someone talking to me.
Your Honor, if I could approach.
Yes.
From the same talk sheet.
So this is sent, and it's talking to me because it said, but Reek, someone sent that to me. Right, so it's saying, this is him talking, this is my kid's father talking to me.
So when it says to, in the two, see how in the third column is Sherrod, where there's a from and to,
Right, I see that.
and for 168, it says to a Chris.
Right, and then it also.
You're disagreeing with me? You think that was actually sent from Chris to you?
Right, we're having a conversation, so when it says sent, and he's saying, you're talking about a come up, he's the one who's saying this to me. That's him.
Okay. So on,
I know how he talks to me.
so Ms. Sherrod, let's look at text 167, which also indicates to Chris, and you believe to Chris means from Chris? Is that right?
It says sent, so that's what he sent me. So on the iPhone, it'll say read. So this is incorrect. This is him talking to me. He says, you're talking about a come up. When they pulled up in the Phantom, Reek, he's talking to me. Reek, I'm Reek. I'm not saying Reek as me.
Okay.
That's him talking to me.
Well, why don't we just read through the text, and maybe the context will help cause you to understand who sent them to who. You either sent or received these items, right?
Correct.
Is there any objection to publishing them on the overhead?
Those limited texts we're talking about?
Correct.
Objection.
Okay. If we could have 173.
I can see your screen. When I approve your screen, I will publish your screen.
Ms. Sherrod, I just want to focus for the moment on the bottom three texts. These are ones to or from a Chris, and Chris is your former husband, right?
No, Chris is my kid's father.
Okay. And so you believe that these three texts were ones from Chris to you?
No, the ones you said 167,
No,
I'm sorry, 168.
right?
168, You talking about a come up, that's him talking, that's what I
Okay,
said.
so why don't you read that bottom text? Why don't you please read it aloud?
This is Chris talking. You're talking about a come up when they pulled up in the Phantom. They thought they was fly, but read. We will be driving that soon. He's talking to me. If they settle, it's 20 mil. If not, we're going to court. F you mean, laugh out loud, or laughing like something.
Okay, and you would agree with me that in the from and to line of that text, it indicates that it goes to Chris, right?
Right, it's just showing his number. That's him talking.
I understand. And there's a phone number that's visible on this, Your Honor, which is why I'm not putting it on the overhead.
Can you hand me that? Counsel, can you approach? Can you hand me 2 white sheets of paper, please?
Tempting to put on the overhead that text we're discussing, which is 168.
You want to enlarge it before I... You can just put it down and I'll publish it.
Okay. 168, you'll agree with me, it says to Chris, right?
Right, it does show 2, yeah.
Okay. So you're maintaining that to Chris is actually a message that you received from Chris.
Well, that's him talking.
I understand what you're saying. So yes, you believe that's a message you received from Chris, correct? Do you believe the same apply to numbers 172
You took it.
and 173?
You took it from me. I'm sorry, what number?
172 and 173.
Yeah, that's me explaining.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's me explaining. We got Chris Brown's vote. Yeah, that's me talking.
Which one is that, ma'am?
172.
Okay, so you will agree with me that 172, also in that column where it reflects to or from, says to Chris, right?
Right.
And 173 also says to Chris, right?
Correct.
And those are texts that you believe you sent to Chris, right?
Correct.
Okay. If we could put, switch back to the laptop, please.
There's nothing on his screen.
Just gonna wait to look at it.
No, I publish when I see on your screen something that can be published. Your screen appears to be black.
No, just what we had before. Okay. So I'll attest to you that with these 3 texts, and if you look at the document in front of you, you'll see that the timestamp shows that the order in which they were sent by whomever. The first one is, the witness is me, and I'm about to get a check. You see that?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, and then the second one is the one right below it, and the third one is the one after that. You see that?
Yes?
Yes, I see that.
And you're acknowledging, why don't you read the second text there?
We got Chris Brown's, oh, I'm sorry. The witness is me and I'm about to get a check.
And the text after that?
We got Chris Brown's lawyer, and I'm not snitching, I'm smart. What you mean, boy's voice?
And then the third text.
You're talking about come up, when they pulled up in the Phantom, they thought they was fly, but Reek, we will be driving that soon. If they settle, it's 20 mil, if not, we going to court. Laugh like, that's him talking, he's,
So Reek is you, right?
right,
And you're maintaining that when Reek is there, it's not you referring to yourself in the third person,
correct.
but rather Chris talking about a phantom. Is that right?
Yes?
Yes? And that Chris is telling you that you're going to be driving the phantom, that if they, and I assume they're referring to the Morris twins, is that right?
Correct.
That if they settle soon, if they settle, it's 20 mil, right?
That's what he said, it's 20 mil, right.
And if not, then we, and when Chris is writing we, he means you here, is that right?
Like we, me and him, yes,
Okay, then you and Chris are going to court.
right.
Okay. And then the last text is the one at the top. Could you read that one aloud, please?
Hey, I know you probably heard it was on the news about the Suns player and assault. That was my friend, and I'm the eyewitness. We are going to sue them, so I might be rich here pretty soon.
Was that one you sent?
What number was that?
146?
Yes, it shows since, doesn't show the number, and it has yes.
You sent that text?
Yeah, I sent that text.
And if you turn to the last page of that document, Ms. Sherrod, and I'd approach Your Honor.
You may.
Or numbers, I just want to point you in the right direction. This text. Read that page. Let me know when you're done.
Yes.
Okay. This is a text exchange with you and a friend of yours from Maryland. Your Honor, I'd like to publish these.
Any objection?
May I review those?
No objection, Judge, I apologize.
You may.
It's a little small at the top, but if you could please read that aloud.
I know, just big moves for me, huh? But hopefully everything goes the way in a few months. Suppose maybe can live here, and there once we get that check, laugh out loud from the twins.
And if that's something you wrote?
Yes.
And your friend had responded twins with a question mark?
Yes.
And I don't think it appears on there, but you have it in front of you. You had written back to him, the ones we are suing that play in the NBA, right?
Right, correct.
Signed counsel, can you approach from me?
So Ms. Sherrod, your friend responded twins, and then you wrote back to your friend, the ones we are suing that play in the NBA, right?
Correct.
And your friend asked, did they hurt you too? Yes?
Yes.
And you responded, emotional distress, LOL.
Correct.
Nothing further.
Mr. Ballinger? Mr. Eckstein, we did have one exhibit that you printed during your cross that is not yet admitted. I don't know if you'd like to offer it. It was Exhibit 241.
Yes. I would like to offer it.
No objection, Judge.
Mr. Ballinger or Mr. Lackey, any objection to the admission of 241?
No, Your Honor.
241 is admitted.
Ms. Sherrod, my name is Tim Bellinger. I represent Mark Keith Morris. On the text that Rex and I just showed you, it said that we are going to get $20 million. Who's the we?
That was my kid's father he was talking about.
Who's the we? Your father, your kid's father and you?
Yeah, he was talking about we, like me and him.
Okay. You talked about the two gentlemen that came out. You can look. Perhaps I can do this. Who this is?
Of course.
Your Honor, just for a second, because I'm confused about this, Ms. Sherrod. You've indicated a couple of times about where you think you were stopped, or where the Morris brother was that never went down to the fight. You said he never went down to the fight, right?
Correct.
And then you said that he was up here with a white coach and a black referee.
The referee wasn't stopped with us.
No, but at one point, you were in this area right here with what you described as a white coach and a black referee, right?
When we came out the gym, yes.
Yeah. And the reason I'm doing this is because you've moved it a little bit. One time you had it up here, and one time it was down here.
Right.
Okay, you see where that red dot is on the screen right there?
Because one is zoomed in and one is further back. That's probably why it looks different.
Okay, but it's no further than right where here, where that road is, right? Never further down than that. See where the road is? I think it's West
Can I see
Oregon
where he's...
Avenue. You see where that says West Oregon Avenue? Correct. So it's in this area right here, the bend of the road.
It's somewhere right in that area, yes.
I think you described the white coach as being medium height, taller than 5'7", but how tall was the coach in relation to me?
Like I said, I don't know height, but I can't say he was just tall.
Well, you said he was shorter than Mr. Hood.
Right. That's tall too, yeah, but he's shorter than him.
Okay, and certainly not as tall as the Morris brothers.
No.
And the person that was the referee, I believe you described him in your interview with Mr. Epstein as a slim black man in his 50s.
He had like an afro, yes.
Slim black man in his 50s. Okay. Now I'm thin. I don't know if I'm slim, but was he about my build?
I don't recall right now.
Okay.
It was 2.5 years ago when I seen him.
What does slim mean to you?
Huh?
What does slim mean to you? In terms of
Like not fat. He's not fat.
And was he shorter than the coach?
Yeah, he's shorter than the white guy, yes.
So he was shorter than the white guy. Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Correct.
I'm just going to hit a few points that we covered on cross-examination.
No.
I believe 188 has been amended, Judge, is that correct?
Yes.
Showing you, you remember going over this photo with the defendants during the questioning?
Yes, I do.
All right. When was the first time you saw this?
Was in the defense interview.
All right. During your direct examination, you said you really weren't paying attention to that part of the gym. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So when you're looking at this and trying to determine who is who, you're going off, are you going off your best recollection based on watching it after the fact?
Correct.
So is it fair to say that you never actually saw that while you were in the gym?
No, I did not.
And then do you remember getting some questions? I'm showing Exhibit 223 about the individual with the bandana.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you remember having questions asked of you about an individual with a bandana?
Yes, I do.
And you were asked about specifics of that individual based on this information that you provided on the map. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And do you remember being asked if there was any facial features that you saw that you had written down on that?
Yes, I do.
Did you write facial features of any of the individuals for any of these numbers?
No, I did not.
When you were writing down information about those individuals, were you trying to differentiate the people for the detective?
Yes, I was.
Were you trying to describe how each person looked in that information?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Were you trying to describe their facial features in that description?
No, I was not.
So was it ever your intention to provide a detailed explanation of what you remember each individual's facial features looking like?
No, I do not.
I'm going to show exhibit number 225. I believe that has already been omitted.
It has.
And you, in addition to what you were asked about by defense counsel, are you certain that you recognize the facial features of this individual when you identified him in the photo lineup?
Yes, I am.
You remember going over defense counsel with text messages about getting money possibly from the twins just now, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you remember getting questions from me on your direct examination about texts about getting money from the twins.
Yes, I do.
Are those the same texts as we talked about during our direct examination?
Yes, they are.
And again, in those text messages, you reference the letters LOL and LLS.
Correct. Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Because that's laughing like I was just talking, not being serious.
And again, did you ever file a lawsuit against those 5 individuals?
No, I did not.
You also received some questions from defendants about your crush on Eric at the time.
Correct.
And we spoke about that on direct examination, is that correct?
Correct.
So, when you said that you were flirting with him and they brought up the text messages, was that the same thing? Did you mean the same thing as you said on direct examination?
Yes, I did.
And in regards to your relationship?
Yes, I did.
But did it ever materialize farther than that?
No, it did not.
Do you remember when defense counsel asked you questions about an officer that first came to speak to you in the hospital?
Yes, I do.
And did you know if that when that officer spoke to you, if it was recorded?
No, it was not recorded.
All right. When you spoke to him, how were you feeling? What was your state of mind at the time?
We had just got into the hospital, just sitting down. I was still frantic, and I thought he was like a security guard. I didn't even think he was an actual police officer.
And when you made the 911 call and you said there was 10 guys that had just attacked your friend, can you explain your state of mind when you made that call?
I was still kind of frantic, making the call. Like I said, I couldn't drive and talk at the same time. I had to pull over. It was just like a lot going through my mind. I just couldn't believe what I'd just seen. Never seen anything like that before.
But that night, you did do a recorded conversation with Detective Santos. Is that correct?
Correct.
And defense counsel asked you questions about you explaining about a fight and seeing Eric in a ball. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when Detective Santos was interviewing, did you describe it to the best of your ability of what you remember?
Yes, I did.
And then you were given the opportunity to show what you saw by using maps with Detective Santos.
Correct.
And this interview with Detective Santos occurred on January 26, 2015.
Yes.
Correct. I am showing what's been marked exhibit number 223. And we've already gone over this, so I won't belabor it. But at any point on any of these photos, do you show a fight going down at the end of the street?
No, I do not.
Do you show anyone being kicked or punched? Do you have writing that says anyone was being kicked or punched at the end of that street?
No, I do not.
And when you have this X right here, what was the purpose of that X?
To end the end of the driveway and to show where Eric was laying.
But you do delineate where you did see people being kicked and punched. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is that one of the areas that you noted that you saw the individuals kicking and punching Mr. Hood?
Correct.
So nowhere on these maps, when you were providing a description for the detective, did you state that Mr. Hood that you saw Mr. Hood being kicked and punched at the end of the street?
I did not write that. Correct.
Judge, I have no further questions.
Any questions of this witness from the jury? Mel? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the lights on.
May we approach here?
Yes, please. Ma'am, I'm showing you a portion of Exhibit 237 that you have in front.
Yes.
The text with Chris. Is it possible you are referring to Eric Hood and yourself when using the word "we" while discussing a 20 million come-up and/or settlement?
No, that was about we, me, and Chris.
Text with Chris. Please reread the fourth text in context in which it was written, without adding or removing any words.
You talking about a come up when they pulled up in the Phantom? They thought they was fly, but Reek, we will be driving that soon. If they settle, it's 20 million. If not, we going to court. F you mean LLS.
Do you recall the type of shoes that any member of the alleged assault was wearing?
No, I do not.
Do you remember their defining characteristics? In reference to the shoes.
Oh, no, I do not.
Any follow-up, Mr. Bailey?
None from the state judge.
Mr. Lackey?
Your Honor, the activity you just took down, the background.
Yes?
Ms. Sherrod, with regard to the second text message from the bottom, we got Chris Brown lawyer part. The we in that, who you referring to?
And that I was referring to Eric, as far as the Mark Garagos lawyer.
Okay. Nothing further.
Mr. Eckstein?
Yes, I would just ask for her to read again that last text that the juror had asked without adding any words.
You may use the full word as it appears in the
Oh.
text.
Okay, sorry. You talking about a come up when they pulled up in the Phantom? They thought they was fly, but Reek, we'll be driving that soon. If you settle, it's 20 mil. If not, we go into court. Fuck you mean, laughing like shit.
Any further questions? Mr. Ballinger?
Yes. Sherrod.
Oh, I'm sorry, just a minute, Mr. Ballinger, I have your microphones muted. Go ahead.
When you read that, you say, but Reek will be driving that soon. If they settle, it's 20 mil. If not, we go into court. F you me. The word is they, right? So when you read that, it will be driving that soon. If they settle, it's 20 mil, correct?
Thought they were fly, but they'll be driving that soon. If they settle. Yes, they settle.
And Reek is your nickname?
Yes.
It's not your child's name.
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any follow-up, Mr. Bailey?
No, Judge, thank you.
Any further questions from the jury? May this witness be released.
This witness may be released. No objection.
No objection, Judge.
No objection, no.
No, watch your step. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to recess for the weekend. The admonition will continue to apply. So again, when you go home and people wonder where you are and why you're not going to work and what case you are involved in, remember you cannot tell them anything except to tell them that you are still on the jury, the estimated schedule of the trial, and that you can't talk about the case until it is over. Please again avoid any media coverage associated with this case. We will resume trial on Monday at 10:30. Have a safe weekend, ladies and gentlemen. All rise.